Hi everyone, Josie here. Thank you so much for joining me for the 2022 Astrology Marathon here on Lada. So unfortunately this year I was not able to meet up with Lada. I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to do the video. So the area that I live in is going through some major flooding. So there's been power outages and road closures, evacuation notices, all this kind of crazy things happening. So I wasn't sure if I was even going to be able to do this video. So I'll be doing it solo for that reason, but I hope you guys enjoy the video regardless. So what we're going to focus on for this read, we're going to take a look at some of the collective energies going on in 2022, but I would like to relate all of that back to career. So we are going to take a look at what careers are being supported by the major influences of this year. And then we're also going to be doing a breakdown of each of the planets, and you guys can see from degrees or aspects and things like that, which ones are going to be affecting you most strongly. And I am going to give you guys an example chart as well, just so if you want to follow along, you know how to kind of look at that. Also, before we get started, if you are interested in a reading with me, I am going to be offering my wealth, career, and finance reading at 50% off. This has been my most popular reading. And then I'm also going to be doing a 2021 career reading. So that one will be more predictive, taking a look at how these energies will be influencing you on a personal level for the year 2022. And I'll be offering that one at 30% off if you guys are interested, but I can only take a certain amount at this time. But I will take it off of the page when those readings are filled up. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm just going to share my screen here. Okay, so 2022, we have quite a lot to unpack here. So before we get started on the astrology, I did want to take a look at the vibration of 2022 from a numerological perspective as well. So the number 2022, we do have this energy of 222 here. And 222 is actually known as an angel number, as a master number, and it is connected with basically signs of good things to come. This is a number of collaboration, of cooperation, of manifestation, as well as partnership. And being that it's this angel number, master number, it has very spiritual qualities to it as well. So it is associated with spiritual growth in some way. And it's talking about mastery and creativity as well. So now if we reduce 222 to a 6, so 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6. So this year is a 6 year, has the vibration of the 6. And I like to bring the tarot in when talking about the vibration of a year, because it is a really good visual representation of these energies. And so when we're taking a look at these cards, the cups are representing water or emotion. The swords are representing more on a mental level. They are associated with the air signs. The wands are associated with the fire signs or the spirit as well. And then of course the pentacles are connected with air signs. They're talking about those material, tangible types of things. And I did want to include this again this year because I included the tarot last year when I did the Gemini reading, and I went back and reviewed that before doing this video. And we talked about in that video the energy of the 4, which was 2020. And so the energy of the 4 carried these energies of authority, of regulation, of power, and it also had themes connected to domestic life. There was the card connected with quarantine, so quite interesting. And so when I included the 5 last year, when I went back and reviewed that video, this is a card or a number. Those cards associated with the number 5 are they were cards of battle, cards of conflict, cards of rebellion, cards of testing tradition and convention, all these things which had this really direct connection between that Saturn and Uranus square and things like that. We've seen a lot of rebellious protests and all those types of things. And there was also this energy of this abuse of power that was happening, poverty, financial loss, We're connected to the energy of 2021, this false sense of victory and blind following, or test the beliefs we're seeing with that energy connected to 2021. So I did want to share the energy of the 6 because it is much more positive this year. So in terms of the major arcana, the 6 is associated with the Lover's card. And this is actually a card of Gemini, which is a little bit interesting because Venus is said to be the esoteric ruler of Gemini. And the Lover's card carries a lot of similar energy to that of this angel number 222. So this is also a card that is connected with partnerships, with collaborations, with contracts and agreements. It's also a card that is talking about our values and basically making very important decisions as well. It's a card of attraction, it's a card of union. So we might see some important partnerships going on collectively this year, also on a personal level as well. This is also a card of duality, of commitment. It's soul level contracts, agreements, and partnerships as well. And it's the blending of masculine and feminine. It carries qualities or developments connected to self-love, which I also found interesting with the North Node transiting the sign of Taurus. So we'll get to that when we get to the astrology, but a lot of very strong connections again happening this year. In a shadow way though, everything has a shadow side. In a shadow way, the Lover's card can talk about some form of disharmony going on. It's also a card of temptation. So you can see there's Adam and Eve here, and we have, the famous serpent in the Garden of Eden going on. So it is one of the cards connected with temptation as well. So it can talk about affairs, separation, moral dilemmas. So we could be faced with something connected there this year. And it can also talk about one-sidedness within relationships, misconnections or power struggles within relationships when it's played out in its more shadow way. Okay, then if we look at the minor arcana associated with the 6, again, the cups are talking about things going on an emotional level. So on an emotional level, the 6 of Cups, it's a very adorable card. It's a card of nostalgia and it's a card of romanticism. So on an emotional level, there can be a lot of reflecting on the past, but potentially even glamorizing it. So in a shadow way, it can talk about clinging to the past. And even with the 6 of Swords, you guys will see there's an energy of stuckness with being able to move past that nostalgia of the past in some way. The 6 of Cups is also a card that is connected to children. So there can be very important developments going on there. In a shadow way, it can talk about stolen innocence in some way, or issues connected to children, or also within your own inner child and things like that as well. The 6 of Cups, it's talking about memories, it's love, it's harmony, it's comfort, safety, and security, and also really highlights this energy of giving and receiving. So again, with the nodes moving into the fixed signs of Taurus and Scorpio, this is the axis of giving and receiving what's mine and what's yours. So there'll definitely be important developments connected going on there. In a shadow way though, with this card, it can be very important to make peace with the past in some way. And the South Node in Scorpio will help releasing fears and traumas and with those types of things as well. But this card can also talk about a fear of expression or a lack of passion, things like that, or just having a really hard time letting go of the past. But there's a lot of beautiful potential with this card as well. Now, if we look at the 6 of Swords, again, this is associated with the energy of air. And I really like this card for this year because this is talking about, in one way, it can talk about turbulent waters, which is interesting because we're having that Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, which can definitely contribute to kind of crisis going on in connection with waters or with the ocean and things like that as well. But in a more metaphorical sense, it can talk about moving to safer waters, moving to calmer waters. And this is a card of, refuge, of traveling over seas and things like that as well. So it can be a card of refugees. So there's some mixed energy there, but it is talking about leaving things behind. You can see the people in this boat, they've been through something, but they're moving forward, they're moving away from it. So this can be the beginning of moving away from some of the troubles that we've been having for sure. And it's about finding peace, focusing on the journey as well. It's a card of departure, resolution of a problem, and looking to the future for strength. So that can also be very important. So it's all about planning for the future. In the shadow way, can talk about feeling trapped, though, being stuck in emotion where you can't move forward in some way. So there can be some kind of challenges of moving forward or feeling trapped, or there can be an avoidance of dealing with certain things as well, or the past can kind of have a hold on you. So these two cards carry a bit of that similar energy, but they also have a lot of potential within them as well. Then if we look at the Six of Wands, this is a really great card. This is the card that is associated with victory and triumph as well. And this is, again, the Wands are associated with the fire sign. So this is a card of success, of victory, triumph, achievement, winning, recognitions, rewards, being looked up to, praise, accomplishment, pride, and public acknowledgement as well. In a shadow way, though, it is a card of self-importance or arrogance, being overlooked or being unrewarded for your efforts, and can be connected to entitlement, financial loss, or downturn, stagnation as well, or disinterest. So that can come in. Then we have the Six of Pentacles, which is also interesting because one of the things, and again, we'll talk about this once we get to the astrology, but one of the things I kind of see happening this year is something connected to like debt repayment types of programs, or something going on with borrowing, lending, receiving in some way. So we'll talk more about that. But this card is a card of financial security and generosity as well. So even with the Neptune Jupiter conjunction, that's a very charitable, very generous type of energy that we have going on. And this is in a positive way. It's a card of assistance, of receiving from others. So again, we have all this energy around giving and receiving. It's a card connected with helping others, providing material support or help for others as well. It's a card connected with gratitude and charity. It's a card of giving back and abundance, giving freely. So those are the positive connotations of this card. But in a shadow way, and South Node in Scorpio, again, we'll talk about this, but there's some things to be aware of, to be kind of careful with when borrowing and or receiving loans and things like that. We'll talk about that. But this can talk about receiving, but there's some kind of hidden agenda. There's some kind of strings attached or something like that. There's some kind of inequality going on. So, you can see this as a card of charity. This man is helping, this guy is giving. That's really nice. But then you can also see that as, this big gap in between those that are in poverty and those that are wealthy. So this inequality is also represented by this card, as well as power dynamics, domination. It's kind of like giving breadcrumbs type of energy. And it can talk about the abuse of goodwill, or the abuse of generosity, or extortion in extreme cases, or just having a lack of support coming from others. Hidden agendas or borrowing creates a debt, whether that's energetic or financial. So that can also come in. So I did just want to cover or include the tarot with the numerology, because again, I feel like it's a good visual representation, but the energy of this Six is much more positive than the previous 2 years. So I was really excited to share that with you guys as well. Okay, so let's move on here. Okay, so some of the major astrological events of 2022, we have some major sign changes going on. We have Rahu and Ketu entering into the signs of Taurus and Scorpio. We have Jupiter entering Pisces, or re-entering Pisces. Jupiter will transit the full sign of Pisces this year and move into Aries as well. In terms of aspects, we have Jupiter conjunct Neptune. We have Jupiter sextile Uranus, Jupiter sextile to Pluto. Jupiter will also sextile 0 degrees of Aquarius, which is where the Saturn and Jupiter conjunction happens. So this is actually quite positive for any of those new beginnings that were created around this time as well, because the sextile is a supportive influence. And then we have Venus retrograde in the sign of Capricorn, and this is ongoing from 2021. We have Mercury retrograde, but this year it's going to be retrogrades that start in air signs and move into earth signs. So we're going to talk more about what that means. as well. We also have Mars retrograde in the sign of Gemini this year. So Mars will be spending quite a bit of time in the sign of Gemini all the way into March of 2023. And then we have a bit of energy still going on between Saturn squaring Uranus. And it's not exact, it won't exactly square this year, but there's only a 37-minute orb that happens on October 4th, but it's still within orb. It can carry that energy throughout the year. So before we dig into, because we're going to do this time around, instead of doing the 12 signs, I will, at the end of everything, I do have some notes briefly on each sign of what you can expect in terms of these major developments or transits that are going on. But we're doing a planetary breakdown. So if you want to follow along with your chart, we're going to talk about if these planets are influencing your career, how that can potentially play out, as well as these major aspects and conjunctions, what types of fields these things are supporting as well. So before we jump in, I did just want to give you guys a example chart in case you want to follow along. So my fiance has graciously volunteered his chart because he's having major activations connected to career. So I just wanted to give you guys an example to help you locate those, to know which planets to look at. But we'll go through that as we go as well, with degrees, with dates, all of that. But just to kind of help if you want to follow along. So you guys can see within this chart, this person has midheaven in the sign of Aries. Aries, of course, is a Mars ruled sign. So this person has Mars in the sign of Virgo in the second house. So Mars being the ruler of the midheaven means that the important transits of Mars, and of course we can't cover every transit that a planet is having within a year, especially the faster moving planets, but I picked out basically the most important themes or developments connected to that planet for the year. So when we cover the important transits of Mars, with the midheaven in a Mars ruled sign, this person would be watching those. So Mars's major transits will have a strong impact or influence over career and vocation in the life of this person. Then you guys can see that the midheaven ruler is conjunct Venus. So Venus's transits, and Venus rules the 10th house of career for him. So Venus's important transits will also be very significant in influencing career for this person for this year. Then if we look at the transits that are going on, especially the outer generational planets or the social planets, he has very important activations going on here as well. So Saturn is transiting the sign of Aquarius for this person. It is in the 7th house, and Saturn will square this person's sun, and sun is very strongly connected to career or your goals in life, things like that as well. So especially when talking about career, I would look more from a rising type of perspective, or from the perspective of the sun versus the moon in this case, because sun carries those qualities of career as well. So we know that from this transit, and Saturn will be sextiling this person's midheaven. So we know that Saturn transits will have an important influence over career for him this year. Then we have Neptune and Jupiter that are transiting the sign of Pisces. And so these two planets will be making oppositions to Mars and Venus, his 10th house lord Venus and his midheaven ruler Mars. So we know that Neptune and Jupiter will also play a significant role this year in terms of career. Then we have the North Node and entering into his 10th house of career. So we'll also want to take a look at that. And the South Node will also be conjuncting his sun. So he's having major career activations, a lot going on there. And then finally, Uranus is transiting the sign of Taurus and will oppose his sun as well this year. So he's got major career activations. So I wanted to use this chart as an example in case anybody wants to follow along to know which planets to look at for those career developments. And we'll do a breakdown of each of those. So I just wanted to give a really quick example before jumping in. So hopefully that was helpful. So let's take a look at what's going on in 2022. Okay, so the first thing we're going to take a look at is the nodes changing signs. So we have Rahu moving into the sign of Taurus and the South node Ketu moving into the sign of Scorpio. So I just wanted to include the eclipse dates for you guys in case you have anything at these degrees. So the dates and degrees of the eclipses going on in 2022, we have a partial solar eclipse or a new moon eclipse going on April 30th at 10 degrees of Taurus. We have a total lunar eclipse or a full moon eclipse May 16th at 25 degrees of Scorpio. We have a partial solar eclipse or a new moon eclipse going on October 25th at 2 degrees of Scorpio. And then we have a total lunar eclipse or a full moon eclipse happening November 8th at 16 degrees of Taurus. So let's talk a little bit about this axis, this Taurus Scorpio axis, because it's being highlighted, especially through the eclipses, but also through the transits of the nodes through these signs. So what are these? What does this axis represent? Because there's going to be a push and pull going on here. There's going to be important developments connected to these types of themes. So this is the energy of, what's mine versus what's yours or what's ours. So themes around giving, receiving, taking, investing, possessing, supporting, gaining, those types of things, important developments there. Also, it's personal assets, belongings, possessions, finances, resources versus mutual joint resources, assets, funds, support, and sponsorship. It's things of value, luxury, sensuality, beauty that bring us comfort versus pleasure. And pleasure versus, actually both these signs represent pleasure, but in a bit of different way. Versus those darker, more taboo, forbidden topics. This is also material, visible, tangible things on the surface versus those secretive, hidden, or buried things as well. This is the 5 physical senses versus our 6th sense, intuition and divination. This is stability and comfort versus upheaval, crisis, and transformation. This is simplicity and superficiality versus deep, complex, beneath the surface types of things. This is personal values, worth versus instincts, impulses, desires, and fears. Those are connected with the energy of Scorpio. Taurus is more of a refined, sophisticated type of energy versus Scorpio, which is very primal, animalistic type of energy. This is also the natural versus the supernatural. So Taurus, very natural type of sign. Scorpio is everything supernatural. And it's material versus spiritual in another way. Also, it's things that are very easy to comprehend because we can see them, feel them, touch them, smell them, all those things with our 5 senses, versus the experiences that are more difficult to comprehend. Those are seen through Scorpio. This is also maintenance and preservation versus renewal and regeneration. So both of these signs, though, are connected with finances, survival, desire, pleasure, intimacy, attraction, security, and protectiveness. So this is where we're going to see a lot of that push and pull type of energy, where there's more intensity around these types of themes. So taking a look at that energy, I think that shifts in power are definitely possible this year. The only thing with that is it can be due to hidden activities. So there are some instances in the past when this axis was transited by the nodes, when the North Node was in Taurus and the South Node was in Scorpio, where, there's some conspiracy in that South Node in the sign of Scorpio because something hidden is going on there. It can be connected to power, control, dominance, or those hidden resources or those resources under the earth. And so the last time when the nodes were in these signs, of course, this is when America invaded Iraq, and there's, conspiracies around the whole thing having something to do with oil, these things beneath the earth and things like that. So it can show some kind of shifts in power that can possibly be due to hidden activity. And the sign of Scorpio, because Scorpio is the 11th house from the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn's a sign that's naturally connected to government, organizations, those hierarchical types of structures and things like that. So Scorpio is the 11th sign. So this is the funds of the government as well. And, the connections of government and things like that. So with that energy, I do think that debt repayment programs can emerge Again, this, because Rahu can give a false sense of something, a false sense of safety and security and things like that, but be aware of any kind of hidden agendas going on here, because that's also the house of, goals of the government and things like that. There might also be some kind of hidden conditions when it comes to borrowing, lending, or some extreme circumstances connected to these, or just be really careful if you're taking out any, major loans or major investments, that there's not, some kind of hidden conditions going on there. Also with this energy, a rise of a new currency is possible. And so again, Rahu likes to digitize with the energy Uranus also being here. This can be something that gives rise. Especially we've got Jupiter sextile Uranus as well in the sign of Taurus. So it can talk about a rise coming with those cryptocurrencies and things like that. Also, environmental issues, natural disasters may rise, but they can also give rise to new technologies. And this can even be related somehow to agriculture, to food supply, to our natural resources, to things connected to food and waste. This is very Taurus, Scorpio type of energy as well. Or the way that we intake and release things may shift as well as our values change. And as we progress, and as this also process of spiritualization can be going on, because Rahu in the sign of Taurus, that's another thing to kind of be aware of. It's a very hoarding energy, because Taurus likes to collect things for that sense of safety and security and comfort. So it's almost like there could be some kind of massive hoarding of resources going on at the same time, because Rahu will do things by any means necessary. It will take shortcuts. It will break the law. It will do whatever it has to do to get what it's trying to achieve. Also, there can be very important developments and findings when it comes to scientific or research-based metaphysical fields that can be possible, because South Node in Scorpio is very supportive of those types of things. But this can definitely be a year to be aware of, or be careful with being too financially dependent on others, and important to be very scrutinizing when it comes to things like loans, taxes, insurances, inheritances, to borrowing, things like that as well. Because again, and this can manifest on individual level as well, but definitely secret government agendas are possible, or promoting of secret activities and things like that. When the nodes were in these signs before, there were quite a few events connected to war, crimes, terrorism, but big conspiracies behind them as well. Okay, but this is also a great year collectively for releasing fear, for healing past traumas and things like that as well. There might be really actually great advances in healing and medical discoveries and things like that, but flu outbreaks have also been seen with this nodal axis of Rahu and Taurus, Ketu in the sign of Scorpio. So some of those were the avian flu, mad cow disease, interesting, Rahu in the sign of Taurus. Again, Rahu's like this mad scientist. Taurus rules cattle, things like that. SARS and Ebola were seen. Also, again, inflation can happen, this supply and demand that's going on, and not being able to keep up with that. So, or because of crisis of resources, the prices of things can rise. Also, this can bring a need for security and innovation. How Okay, so for security and innovating on how we get that security again, and how we cut those losses as well. So important developments connected to money and banking systems. These can go through a very powerful transformation as well. Ketu and Scorpio also has the ability to uproot secrets and hidden things. But again, be aware of being, excessively material. We still need to lean into that energy of Ketu. And there's actually a very big spiritual energy around this year, I feel, with, you know, the Neptune-Jupiter conjunction that's going on in the sign of Pisces, Ketu transiting Scorpio. So especially for those spiritual related fields, healing fields, things like that, I feel like this is going to be a great year for those. And again, this is also survival versus creation. So the more we're living in that survival mode, the less, you know, we're able to create as well. This is also, I wondered if themes or developments connected to procreation were going to be somehow important this year, because of course Scorpio is one of the signs that can be connected to pregnancy. It's regeneration, it's death and rebirth as well. So I'm wondering if there's some kind of maybe impact of the vaccine or something like that that's going on in connection with our reproductive organs and things like that. Also with this energy, I can see that, you know, groups with similar values somehow coming together, bonding together, and that might be very strongly based on resources or alliances based on hidden agendas as well. So that can come in. Okay. Okay, so in terms of career though, Taurus, this is a sign that is related to music, to art, to the voice, to dealing with luxurious goods or services as well. Fields connected to beauty, with finances, with banking, food, agriculture as well. Those types of industries, even public speaking and things like that can be seen. Singing as well. Actually, personally, I'm quite excited this year for the strong creative influence that we're having with Jupiter conjunct Neptune in the sign of Pisces, as well as this Rahu transiting the very creative sign of Taurus as well. Taurus can also be connected to female demographic based fields such as makeup and things like that as well, or working with feminine products and things like that, dealing with nature or natural resources in some way. So that can be work that involves the earth, preservation, gardens, land, plants, those types of things. Also a sign related to food with family business, with things like cooking, dealing with archives, preservation or conservation and things like that as well. So when it comes to those Taurus types of careers, we could definitely see a lot of progression and even some things that might push some boundaries, some very cutting edge technologies and things like that that are associated with these types of fields, and new innovations connected to those types of things as well. So, you know, taking a very progressive and creative approach to these things is definitely possible. Then in terms of Ketu in the sign of Scorpio and North Node in the sign of Taurus, again, that can also be good for cryptocurrencies and those types of things. Now, that doesn't mean everybody run out and buy cryptocurrency. That will be based on your individual chart, but there is a potential for rise of those things collectively with this energy. Then we have K2 in the sign of Scorpio. So if we're talking about career, again, K2 is known for weakening the material manifestations that are connected to things, but K2 in Scorpio is really great also for certain careers, spiritual fields, even fields of medicine, occult fields, fields of investigation, therapeutic types of industries, whether that's, you know, psychology, healing, Reiki, those types of things, shamanic types of work, helping others navigate change or crisis or upheaval or release fears and traumas, really supportive energy for that this year. Also fields of science, discovery, unearthing things as well, fields of transformation, illusion, metaphysical fields, or if you're a healer or in fields of enlightenment, it's very positive type of transit for those things. So there's also, I see a big creative type of influence this year, and also a very big spiritual influence this year in a more positive sense that can be happening. So let's take a look now. If you are if Ketu or Rahu is directly having an influence over your career. So this will be, let's start with Ketu in the sign of Scorpio. So if you have your 10th house in the sign of Scorpio, you have your midheaven in the sign of Scorpio, or the South Node is transiting your sun or 10th house lord, then you can feel some of these influences. So then that means Ketu is having a direct influence over your career life, especially if those eclipses are involved in triggering one of these. So this means that the sector of your chart that is connected with career, vocation, social status, public reputation, with authority figures, with your own sense of authority, even father figures can be influenced by this energy. Also, 10th house, midhaven, those types of things can be connected to public responsibilities or duties, or work-related types of responsibilities that you have. So that means that if Ketu is transiting your 10th house, your midhaven, your sun, your 10th house lord, that there's this energy of spiritualization that can be going on. So Ketu will want to spiritualize something in connection with this house and help you release some kind of material attachment as well. So this might even require some kind of sacrifice from you, or you might experience a certain level of dissatisfaction, even a certain level of apathy in this area of life. This energy can also bring up past life or karmic connections related to this house. So whether that's with a boss figure, with an authority figure, something like that. Or again, it can be, you can be going through a process of spiritualization around career. This can also talk about some kind of karmic cleansing and releasing that goes on within career life. So in extreme cases, it can talk about job loss or something like that. Or you just experience some form of liberation or detachment within career, or with a certain authority figure within your life as well. Even some aspect of your social status can change. So the dissolvement of a certain title that you used to identify with and things like that. In some cases, it can lead to being or feeling kind of confused about your path in career, or losing interest in some aspect of it, or with something that you wanted to achieve previously as well. But K2 can actually also, while it's transiting Scorpio, give a boost within career, especially in careers that are connected to fields of research, science, spiritual healing fields, fields that require you to work in isolation, or if you work with metaphysical studies, fields of magic, of illusion, of enlightenment, or fields that require a high level of intuition or introspection as well. And again, those therapeutic types of fields. And in some cases, K2 can actually give a rise in career, even fame. However, keeping in mind that when K2 gives fame, it is usually less about someone consciously desiring and obsessing about fame. They might not even care about fame or status at all. But because of this detached attitude, they can receive it quite naturally by working in alignment with their soul's mission or purpose. And they can actually gain quite a lot of public recognition for their achievements. But again, it's less, it's not quite the energy of obsessing about fame and wanting to be famous and things like that. If you have your 10th house, if your 10th house is ruled by the sign of Taurus, your midhaven is ruled by the sign of Taurus. If Rahu transits your sun, especially if there is an eclipse involved, or Rahu transits your 10th house lord, especially if there's an eclipse involved, then Rahu will have a very strong influence over your career life. So this means that for you guys, the sector of your chart that is connected with career, vocation, status, public reputation, with authority figures, father figures, public duties and responsibility, is being influenced by Rahu's energy in the eclipses. And again, Rahu wants to gain something. Rahu wants to achieve something as well. So this can also be a fame indicator, or show a rise within career, because Rahu wants to bring something, material manifestation in connection with this house. So it can show that you may break the mold or become experimental, or have foreign and unusual things and people show up within your career. You might even become, a little bit obsessive about achieving something, or experience a sudden rise that can boost your status in some way, or even like fated developments going on around status. And things like that. So, promotions, public recognition, elevated status in some way, quantum leaps are possible within career, and it can increase worldly desire as well. And you can even adopt like a whatever it takes type of attitude towards your goals, or within career, or even find some of those shortcuts to success in some way. But again, Rahu's where, we're creating karma as well. So be mindful of how you obtain such things. You know, because Rahu can somehow compromise one's morality and things like that in extreme cases. And again, it can show a shift or change in social status with a certain title you identify with, or your value within an institution can definitely increase with this transit as well. So when Rahu transits the 10th house, something new or unusual can be introduced into this area of life. So for example, you can be pushed into new positions, new duties, new responsibilities within work, or even into positions of leadership, or an authority figure with these qualities may enter your life, and the relationship can even be karmic in nature, and they may push you to help you progress in some way, or you may even adopt like this fake sense of confidence in this area, or alter how you appear to the world in order to achieve or maintain something as well. So this becomes a really great energy for taking on or experimenting with new or progressive fields of work, or incorporating Rahu into your current career. So you might innovate something within your career, or incorporate more electrical things, computers, social media, or be drawn or attracted to something connected with entertainment, science, illusion, glamour, pharmaceuticals, fields that involve manipulation of something in the physical form. So this could be, medicine, drugs, makeup, filters, photography, anything that involves like aesthetic type of manipulation can also be seen and supported there. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the actual planets, and we're going to really be focusing on the outer planets, generational planets, and the slower moving planets, because they will bring some of the most important themes or developments in connection with career and vocation. But it's not just if these planets are transiting your 10th house or something like that. So you're going to want to check if these planets are making, aspect or transit to your 10th house cusp, your 10th house lord, as well as your sun, is how I would navigate this. And I'll give you guys all of the degrees and the dates and all those things you guys can check within your own chart. I will briefly cover Mercury, Venus, and Mars retrograde as well. But the outer planets, or the slower moving planets, really bring the most significant themes. They're longer transits. So we're going to focus mainly on those. So let's start with Saturn. So Saturn remains in the sign of Aquarius. So it continues its transit through the sign of Aquarius until March 7th of 2023. So January 1st, Saturn will be at 11 degrees of Aquarius. And on the last day of 2022, Saturn will be on 22 degrees of Aquarius. But this year, Saturn transits from 11 degrees to 25 degrees of Aquarius. On June 4th, Saturn will station to go retrograde at 25 degrees. And October 23rd, Saturn will station to move direct at 18 degrees. So Saturn will pass over the degrees between 18 and 25 degrees 3 times. But the later degrees will feel that more into 2023. So just keeping that in mind. But let's collectively look at the energy of Saturn and how that's connected to career in a more general sense. And then we'll get a little bit more specific with the degrees and signs and things like that. So the early degrees of a sign, because Saturn has already moved through the early degrees of the sign of Aquarius, and it's kind of hovering around the middle degrees of this sign. So the early degrees of a sign are said to be more the degrees of infancy or immaturity in terms of maturation level of a planet's mission or journey through a specific sign, with 0 degrees being the most pure energy or essence or spirit of that sign. It's like the youngest degree of that sign as well. So what have we seen with Saturn transiting the sign of Aquarius in those early degrees? Because there's a continuation of these things. However, when a planet is transiting the middle degrees of a sign, this can be a time period of stagnancy, of stuckness, of challenge or deliberation with those things that have previously been started. It's like the spot between where we've come from and where we're going. And so things done in this time can have a strong impact on how those things are later resolved or completed or mastered, and what can become a little bit more irreversible. so to speak, when Saturn moves into those later degrees, because the later degrees are more about resolution of those things. So the middle degrees are more like where the key, lessons are where the heart of those issues and challenges that were started in the early degrees kind of exist, and where, again, those more impactful decisions are made. So what have we seen so far with Saturn in the sign of Aquarius in those early degrees? Well, we've seen social distancing, we've seen lockdowns, we've seen mask wearing, so blocking the airspace and breathing, and also the co-ruler of Aquarius is in Taurus, and that's, the bottom half of the face as well. We've seen air travel being restricted, events and mass gatherings, a lot of rules, regulations, boundaries, limitations, and conditions connected to those things. There has been, judgment, fear, and divide within the masses as well, and publicized to the masses. There has been quite a bit of rebellion, separation, divide with government, within groups or within social networks. And we've even seen things like fact checking and regulation of content on social media, those internet platforms represented by Aquarius as well. There's, very strong issues connected to social awareness. Protests are happening, issues and injustices of the oppressed as well. Huge themes and developments, especially in those early degrees of Aquarius, have arisen. And highly, televised and things like that as well. And in a more general sense, there's kind of this heavy burden or fear or level of depression and things like that that's kind of weighing on the masses. Aquarius is connected to humanity and the masses as well. So again, there's a continuation of this energy, but it's at a different stage of maturation at where this process is basically going. So in terms of career, Saturn in Aquarius, and again, Saturn will transit 11 to 25 degrees of Aquarius. Careers that are supported with this, Saturn is in its own sign. Saturn will manifest in its own sign. So with these things can be supported, but they can also be simultaneously challenged, because that is the nature of Saturn, or you can experience some level of stress caused by Saturn. But in rulership, it can give really great results, even if you come to them, in a slower way or more painful, kind of dragged out type of way. So careers that are supported with Saturn in the sign of Aquarius, anything that's connected to building networks or building platforms, software, technological types of development and advancement can be seen. Fields that are connected with community involvement, interconnectivity, mass communication as well. Fields of innovation, science, discovery, data, research, analysis can materialize those into form. Also, any fields that are connected to downsizing, regulating, managing complex systems of information or large groups as well is supported with this energy. Anything that is connected to social group, community work that has to do with a global cause or common goal, things like that. Fields connected with computers, inventions, electronics, electricity, artificial intelligence as well. Fields that involve working with frequency, vibration, wave particles, electromagnetic frequencies, radiation, things connected to broadcasting, television, radio, online types of things, mass media, or investing in digital innovation as well. Fields that involve gathering, interpreting, utilizing complex systems of data or information, human relations, human resources, and things like that. And also app, web development, digital enterprise, digitization, things like that as well. Even if those, results kind of come slower. So those are supported with the energy of Saturn moving through the sign of Aquarius. Now, if this affects your career personally, then again, this means that Saturn is transiting your 10th house, Saturn transiting your midheaven, Saturn transiting your 10th house lord, and even Saturn transiting your sun can impact career as well. So if Saturn is transiting one of those for you, then the sector of your chart that is connected with career, achievements, vocation, status, public reputation, authority figures, father figures, public duties and responsibilities is being influenced by Saturn's energy and transit. So, you know, if Saturn, let's say, it might be a little bit different based on, you know, aspect. If Saturn is aspect in your 10th house lord, then with a trine aspect, it would be felt in a more positive way, a bit more of a supportive way. If it's in a square aspect, that's a bit more challenging type of energy where action may be required to resolve whatever's going on there. So just keeping that in mind if you're considering the 10th house lord. But Saturn basically wants to streamline, it wants to downsize, it wants you to mature and achieve something in the area of life in which he transits. So it can mean that if you're having a Saturn aspect connected with career in your chart, that you might be tested in this area of life or required to take on more duties or more responsibilities in connection with work and things like that as well. So you might encounter difficulties or hardships, delays within career life, and there may even be a bit of a slow or painful process of removal that can happen, or it can indicate you may encounter blockages or challenges, you know, that can present themselves to be worked through in order to achieve something in this area of life as well. So you can be rewarded, you can be creating something that has long-lasting results if that work is done and if those Saturnian principles are practiced. So Saturn likes discipline, it likes when you take responsibility, it likes when you're committed, all those things. This can also indicate if Saturn is having a strong connection to career, that consequences for past actions in connection with career reputation are also possible. 10th house being the house of authority figures, father figures, things like that, boss figures. There can also be Saturnian themes going on there. So, you know, it can talk about separation. It can talk about these people applying a lot of extra pressure, responsibility on you. Saturn can be quite a harsh taskmaster, things like that, or it can just indicate some level of blockage there, even if that's just work related. And again, you can be building something in this area of life that requires a lot of effort before you see material results. But again, Saturn manifests in its own sign. Or you can be downsizing, can be going on within an institution or organization that you're a part of. Or you can even just be required to work remotely, work in isolation. That's another manifestation. In another way, it can show that freedoms within career may be limited, or new limitations, rules, and boundaries may be set within your line of work as well. But also job loss as well as promotions are possible. So ultimately, Saturn can give you rewards in this area of life. However, Saturn gives rewards basically that are equal to the level of effort put in. So again, practicing Saturnian types of principles during those types of transits are really helpful. So practicing perseverance, self-discipline, patience, commitment, consistency, to gain mastery and experience with the lessons that Saturn is trying to teach you are really key with the transits of Saturn. Okay, and then if we get a little bit more detailed or go a little bit more in depth with this, the three signs that are most likely to have their career impacted by this energy of Saturn through conjunction with the midheaven would be Gemini rising, Taurus rising, and Aries rising. So everything that I've talked about applies to Taurus in particular because Aquarius rules their 10th house, which carries all of the energy of career as well. But you can have, if your midheaven is in Aquarius as well, you can be Taurus rising, Gemini, or Aries as well, as most likely ascendants with the with Aquarius on the midheaven. So if we are taking a look at on a bit more of a detailed level, then if you have a Gemini rising with your midheaven in the sign of Aquarius, then this means for you guys that you will also be having your 8th house lord transiting your midheaven. So the 8th house lord transiting your 10th house cusp, this is what I'm having right now. This can indicate crisis going on within career as well in connection with this energy. This can also indicate very slow transformations going on in connection with the kind of work that you do and things like that. There can definitely be these blockages that kind of feel like a crisis and things like that, but also may play a very important role in your career and your life path during this transit. So, you know, even personally, I have the 8th house Lord transiting the midheaven in the sign of Aquarius. Definitely big reversals, big transformations within career, big blockages around career, a lot of stuck type of energy and things like that definitely going on. But again, it can show lessons gained and efforts put in while Saturn was in your 8th house in previous years might be having a direct influence on your career this year. So this can also indicate that 8th house themes and developments connected to career, reputation, can be coming in. So you might be joining resources with another in connection with career. So I've also done that. I started a business with my fiance's mom, which 8th house is also in-laws and things like that. So direct connection to career, working with someone older, you know, things like that as well. It can indicate this crisis within career, slow transformation within career, career developments connected to the 8th house. So fields of research, sex, intimacy, the occult, all those things. So again, I'm also having that, but definitely a possibility also for job loss, job change, or status in career for those with a Gemini rising with the midheaven in the sign of Aquarius. And in 2022, it'll be affecting 11 degrees to 25 degrees within this year. This can also show, you know, a powerful authority figure may appear in your life and impact your career. Again, it can be someone who's older, more experienced, things like that. You might be making long-term investments connected with career, taking out a line of credit or something like that in connection with career, or something in the mystical realm can also have an influence on your social status, reputation, or be involved with career duties and responsibilities, work related to investigation strategy, research in connection with career, so planning career strategies and things like that, transforming your vision for the future, that can also be seen, or restructuring trauma and fear in order to achieve something. You know, or on its shadow side, it can talk about hardships or blockages within career. But you might be facing fears in connection with career as well, because the 8th house is connected to those. Okay, so then if you have, if your ascendant is in the sign of Gemini or Taurus, this also means that your 9th house Lord is transiting your midheaven. So 9th house Lord transiting the 10th house or 10th house cusp. This can also indicate that father, teachers, mentors, a person of guidance may play a very important role within your career life or career path during this transit. And also things studied, higher knowledge and experience gained while Saturn was in the 9th house, if you have a Taurus rising, have a direct influence on career as well. You can also take on a 9th house role within your career. So teacher, advisor, mentor, those types of things. So for example, I did my first webinar, like live webinar this year with that energy. This can also indicate long distance travel, might be a requirement for your career, but it can be in a way that feels more heavy or burdensome, or there can be blockages connected there, or career blockages because you can't travel. That could be another manifestation as well. Also, even legal matters can be somehow placing pressure around your career life in some way, or connected with your reputation as well. Or you can get very serious about studies that are somehow connected with a specific career path as well, or restructure your beliefs in order to achieve something. Or beliefs might be a source of hardship or blockages within career that need to be resolved. If you have the 9th house Lord transiting your midheaven as a Taurus or Gemini ascendant. Then if you have an Aries rising, but with the midheaven in the sign of Aquarius, this is the 11th house Lord transiting the 10th house cusp. So if you have an Aries rising with an Aquarius midheaven, then this is the house of long-term goals, gains, rewards. It's working very hard towards these now, even or getting basically gains from the hard efforts that you put in when Saturn was transiting your 10th house, if you're an Aries rising. You can also be working towards a common goal or a large scale project in career within a group or environment. And maybe that's a source of stress or something like that, because you can be tested or challenged, or the people that you willingly associate with, or your status within a group can cause some kind of, extra responsibility or stress or something like that. But there is this big focus on forming business connections, establishing status within a group or community as well. Also, this can just indicate that your social life may be suffering in some way due to added responsibility within work life or the pursuit of your personal dreams and goals, or you can even be starting a business or long-term project with a friend, group, team, something that's involved with the community as well. Or you can be building something or working on something connected with mass communication within career. Also, you can even become friends with or make important social contacts who might be very boss-like, older, more mature, more experienced, and they can have an influence over your career path as well. In a more shadow way, it can show blockage when it comes to income because of something going on in career, but at the same time, you can become much more realistic or serious about goals, long-term goals, and things like that. So with this transit for you guys, there's a great potential to achieve great rewards and build something long-lasting in this area of life. But again, through practicing those Saturnian types of principles that we had mentioned earlier. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I had to adjust my lighting here. Okay, so now let's move on to everybody's favorite planet, Jupiter. So there's a lot going on with Jupiter this year. We have Jupiter re-entering the sign of Pisces. So from December 28th of 2021 until May 10th of 2022, Jupiter will be transiting the sign of Pisces. And then May 10th of 2022 to October 28th of 2022, Jupiter will move into the sign of Aries up to 8 degrees. And then in Jupiter's retrograde, it will retrograde back to 28 degrees of Pisces before it moves forward again. So especially if you have planets between 28 degrees of Pisces and 8 degrees of Aries, then that means Jupiter will be making a pass to those planets or points for you 3 times as well. We will also see a Jupiter sextile to Uranus this year that will be going on February 17th of 2022. Jupiter conjunct Neptune, which will be going on April 12th of 2022. And Jupiter sextile Pluto May 3rd of 2022. So we're really going to focus on this conjunction with Neptune because that is the strongest aspect going on. So we'll speak about that. But also something that I did want to point out that is going on with Jupiter that I'm so excited for is that Jupiter is basically kind of being released from the Saturnian influence that it's been having, because of course Jupiter has been transiting Saturn ruled signs with Saturn in those signs for a couple of years now. So from December 3rd of 2019 until December 29th of 2021, Jupiter has been directly connected to Saturn, both by rulership or conjunction as well, with the brief exception of May 13th, 2021 to July 20th, 2021, when Jupiter briefly went into Pisces last year. So collectively, Jupiter is a significator of wealth, abundance, optimism, expansion, education, travel, higher knowledge, and has a very spiritual nature. It's connected with our beliefs, with religion, with spirituality, with philosophy, our vision for the future, laws, higher principles and morals, meaning and purpose in life, and anything that makes us feel connected to something higher than ourselves as well. And Jupiter is a benefic planet, so it's a planet of luck, of optimism, of blessings, of growth and opportunity. And so it's had like this connection with Saturn, and that's where we get, you know, kind of these harsh laws sort of coming in and feeling blocked with a lot that Jupiter does represent as well. And then along with Ketu transiting the sign of Sagittarius, you know, many things that Jupiter represents have been weakened in some way or challenged, and both of these energies are shifting this year as Ketu moves into its sign that it's said to co-rule, and Jupiter moves into its own sign as well, and we still have Saturn in its own sign. So wherever Jupiter sits in your chart and the areas of life that Jupiter has rulership over, affairs of these houses can begin to improve or flow more easily or expand, and you can begin to manifest or receive, you know, unconditional rewards and things like that. Have more permission with those things. Receive results much more easily, or blessings connected with those areas of life. with a lot more ease, upliftment, optimism, or have more hope in these areas as well. So, for example, Jupiter rules my 10th house, and since Jupiter entered the sign of Capricorn, it's been nothing but hard work and challenges and a lot of restriction, all these kind of things to overcome, but getting serious with those things has also come. So interesting. So the areas of life that Jupiter rules, it's kind of this release of this Saturnian influence that's going on, which I'm very excited for. Okay, so Jupiter in Pisces, and then we also have Jupiter in Pisces with Neptune. So we mentioned that conjunction April 12th. So collectively, I want to just go over that energy, and then we'll get into how that's related to career and the careers that are being supported by that energy. But with Jupiter conjunct Neptune in the sign of Pisces, this is an aspect that can mean a few different things. Neptune can be a little bit chaotic, but it's also this hugely spiritual type of energy. So this can be an aspect of like mass imprisonment or like hypnotism in some way. So it can be really swaying the belief system of the masses and things like that. Imprisonment doesn't have to be physical. It can be even just like in a more mental or more emotional type of way as well. And Pisces is connected to, jails, hospitals, asylums, retreats, those confined spaces or institutional types of settings. And, it might even sound a little bit odd that Pisces rules things like jail, but then what happens when you go into jail? Your material life is basically kind of stripped from you. So then it makes sense. Pisces is a very unmaterial, spiritual type of sign as well. So this can represent a time period of where there's some kind of mass illusion going on, but it can also be mass healing, spiritual movements, things like that. And there might even be, so with the conjunction, it can kind of go one of two ways. It can show under this energy that there can be some important advancements with things like medicine, but at the same time, it can also be an aspect that spreads virus and things like that. So just being aware of those. It is also an aspect that can be connected with flooding, where heavy, rainfalls, things connected to water going on, natural disasters connected with water, with the oceans and things like that, as well as with oil. So I think it was Jupiter and Neptune conjunction that brought a really large oil spill into the ocean in previous years and things like that. So there can be things like that going on, but it's also an aspect of the spread and increase of things like spirituality, of faith, of belief, of charity, as well as even finding hidden truths and things like that, because Neptune is secrets and illusion and all those things, and Jupiter is truth. So that can also come from this aspect on a collective level. This can also be an aspect that gives like a very strong increase in sensitivity, in emotion, and also though with intuition. But then again, on its shadow side, mass confusion, isolation, manipulation, persuasion, especially of our beliefs, because Neptune is very hypnotic. This is also very psychic type of energy. So intuitions around this time, I would definitely pay attention to those. This can also be the rise of a very spiritual teacher or guru, or the rise of someone who's a very good persuader, manipulator as well. Or this can be the loss of an important Jupiterian figure of some kind. But with this energy, travel restrictions can see some leeway. Even Pisces is a very permissive type of sign, very boundaryless and things like that. With Saturn still in the sign of Aquarius, there's still some limitations and things like that, but hopefully this energy helps to ease some of that up. So that's what I see for this conjunction on a bit of a collective level. Also, in terms of, let's shift this to career, because I'm quite excited about this, but for spiritual people, artistic people, creative, imaginative people, this is an amazing aspect. So Pisces is a very spiritual, intuitive, elusive, creative, compassionate, and artistic sign. And so these things are being increased. So again, that I mentioned before, we have a big spiritual type of energy this year, as well as a very creative energy going on this year. So things connected to music, the film industry, the arts, expressive art forms, things like photography, storytelling, creative and artistic fields. Even with Saturn in Aquarius, this can be really good for like video game design, designing virtual reality or that type of technology, like VR technology and things like that as well. Also, those in healing or therapeutic fields, or those who work in isolated institutions, so hospitals, jails, asylums, retreats, rehabs, retreat centers, all of those things. Or if you're in spiritual healing, energetic, intuitive fields, even fields like tarot, Reiki, energy workers, EFT practitioners, if you're in hypnotherapy, psychic fields, things like yoga, meditation, astrology, numerology, palmistry, spiritual gurus, coaches, teachers, that kind of thing. This is a really great energy for those in those types of fields. Or also for those who work in fields of confidentiality, where you have to deal with the private information or secret or hidden information of others. And this can even just be their hidden emotions or things that are going on in a subconscious or energetic type of level. So those things you don't see with your eyes and things like that as well can be seen. So psychologists, therapists, counselors, great energy for those. Fields connected to escapism. This can go one of two ways. So escapism, this could be going on a trip. This could be reading a book. This could be meditating, or this can be things like drugs, alcohol, things like that. You can escape through things like movies, video games, those types of things that are a little bit more healthy means of escapism versus the lower vibration of Pisces, which is, because Jupiter can also be overindulgent, which is where we see the shadow qualities of Jupiter. And so it could be an over excess of things like drinking or doing drugs and things like that with Rahu and Taurus as well. That's a very pleasure-driven type of energy. So being mindful of those things. Also, this is a really great energy. So even if we're talking about electional astrology, things like that, if you're wanting to launch some kind of endeavor or engage in some kind of field that's connected to or project connected to charity, philanthropy, victim support services, and things like that, really great time to do those. Also, fields of advertising, fields of design, guidance, something where you're working with an illusion, so things like photography again, visual communication, fields of research, things connected to oils, gases, medicines, dealing with those who are going through loss and things like that. Even fields that are connected to water, oceans, water travel, exploring or deep diving into the unknown, the metaphysical or invisible realms and things like that. Or those professions that require some form of denial or sacrifice or devotion or isolation. So again, very spiritual type of sign as well. Okay, so that's in a bit more of a collective way. So let's take a look at which ascendants are being most strongly impacted by Jupiter in terms of career. Jupiter is a benefic planet and will bring you benefits connected to the area of life that it is transiting, and the planets and things like that are the points. But today we're just going to be looking at career-wise, who will be having those Jupiter types of very strong influences within career. Okay, so if you have Gemini rising, this means your 10th house is in the sign of Pisces. Even if your midheaven is not here, this is still the house of career and vocation. So this, you can consider this if you have Gemini rising. So if Jupiter is transiting your 10th house cusp, and you can also consider this if you're a little bit more advanced in astrology, if it's making transits to your 10th house lord, you can also see some of these developments and benefits coming in. So this is the sector of your chart that is connected with career, vocation, achievement, status, public recognition, authority figures, father figures, public duties and responsibilities as well. So that means that Jupiter is having an influence over these things this year. And Jupiter wants to expand, it wants to grow, it wants to believe, it wants to give blessings, opportunities, rewards, and also give us permission or increase our awareness. So Jupiter, being the natural 9th house ruler and the natural 12th house ruler, it's all about expansion of awareness. So how do we do that? Through things like travel, through things like higher education, through teachers, all of those types of things. So Jupiter is very much connected to expanding our awareness in a certain area of life as well. So if it comes in a bit more of a spiritual way, it can bring financial rewards and things like that, but for others, it might be receiving the right help or support or guidance and things like that as well within career. But this is a bit of an auspicious transit for career and for those worldly achievements. So this can indicate that career opportunities and expansion are definitely possible, or you can receive an opportunity to expand your knowledge or position within career as well. You might even take on a Jupiterian role within career or encounter Jupiterian types of authority figures that can expand your career in some way. So they could bring you some kind of opportunity, or they can offer you the right guidance or something like that. Even in the life of father, there can be some benefit coming in either through that relationship or within their own personal life as well. This can also be a great aspect if you're thinking of expanding or growing your business this year, or receiving added benefits or recognition from superiors and things like that. So definitely increased publicity within career is possible, promotions are possible, or you might just cultivate an increased sense of faith and belief and optimism in the kind of work that you're doing. Find higher meaning and purpose in what it is that you're doing, or receive the right guidance within career as well. Benefits and opportunities can also be coming through organizations, institutions, authority figures, or with career life. But definitely success, recognition, visibility can also come within Jupiterian roles or careers and things like that. So that can come in. Okay, so if you have, and then also, actually, before we move on, if you have Gemini rising with Pisces ruling your 10th house, then this also means that your 7th house Lord is transiting your 10th house, and your 10th house Lord is transiting the 10th house. So of course, the planet in its own sign will manifest, but this is also bringing the area of life, the 7th house, to the house of career. And so this means also that this transit can bring really powerful opportunities for success, for visibility coming into career if we're looking at rulership, because the 7th house is the 10th house from the 10th house. So it is connected to visibility within career, but also this can indicate status change in relationships. So whenever the 10th house or midhaven and 7th house are activated simultaneously, sometimes it can bring an elevated status in a relationship, such as engaged or such as married and things like that. But this can also talk about partnerships that are business related for sure. So marriage of some kind going on within career, or relationships somehow benefit or elevate your career. Collaborations can definitely boost status as well, or your levels of achievement, or increase finances within career. Another manifestation is that you may potentially be working with a partner, starting a business with a partner would be a great energy for that. Or you can receive even an increase in clients and those types of things as well. So career partnerships can be beneficial, expansive, gainful in some way, or even the guidance that they give you or their belief in you helps you achieve something. So 7th house is also consultants and this client-based types of industries. So maybe you're doing some of that within work, or maybe you get your own consultation done, like maybe you hire a coach or something like that, and that helps you level up within career and those types of things. Or seeking personal guidance, career guidance, legal guidance, because this planet is in its own sign, can be favorable and even lucky. And it definitely shows that new doors in career can be opened by others as well. So it's a great transit also for those in client-based professions, consulting professions, working with international foreign business, imports and exports, fields of negotiation, contract-based work, forming business relationships, contracts, agreements, relationship fields of work, or if you're in Jupiterian fields, publishing, travel, spiritual fields, higher knowledge, all those types of things, creative, imaginative fields. So that's everything for the Gemini rising. But you can also have, if you have a Taurus rising with the midheaven in the sign of Pisces, then this also means, because Jupiter rules 2 houses for you, you have your 11th house Lord transiting your 11th house, and your 8th house Lord transits your 11th house Lord transits your midheaven, and your 8th house Lord transits your midheaven. So then the sector of that is connected in your chart with career, social status, highest achievement, social recognition, authority figures, those types of things. This can show that your social contacts, networks, friends, and fan base can expand within career, bring blessings within career. So again, this energy of collaboration for mutual benefit, or finding the right like-minded people that elevates your career in some way. This can definitely show that your social influence within career can be boosted in some way. So it's amazing transit for those whose work involves community work, social causes, or if you're doing anything connected to networking and marketing of your business and things like that. If you're working in group environments with the masses, mass communication, again, this can be very beneficial when it comes to career. And then because the 8th house is involved, this can also show joining assets or resources with another to try to accomplish or achieve something, or there's some kind of opportunity there to collaborate again. This can also show, because 8th house is the house of transformation. So this can show a very positive transformation within career. Even if it's initiated by crisis, it can end up being something very positive. So it's more like a profound and meaningful type of transformation of career, of status, of your dreams, of goals, of things connected to public recognition can go through those processes of transformation as well. In a more shadow way, but it's still Jupiter. It could show that some kind of truths come out about something that's been secret or beneath the surface in a way that affects your public reputation, but it's like it's positive or opportunistic or whatever. So maybe it's like, I don't know what Kim Kardashian had going on, but when her sex tape came out, and then her mom started, making money, and it was publicity and all those types of things. So hopefully, not as extreme, but just an example. So this becomes a really great transit for those with the Taurus rising and the midheaven in the sign of Pisces, for those who work in fields connected to these houses. So fields of the occult, deep research or investigation, taboo fields, fields of finance, investment, sex and intimacy, fields of transformation, providing guidance to others who are going through difficult or traumatic events and things like that. Counseling, advising, also financial fields. So if you are a financial advisor, something like that, that can be a good energy for those, or where you're helping or dealing with other people's resources in some way, that can also come in, or joining resources with another for the reason of gainfulness within career as well. Also working with anything that involves working with community, those types of things on social platforms with large groups of people, all of those. Okay, then if you have a Cancer rising with your midheaven in the sign of Pisces, then this is your 9th house Lord and 6th house Lord transiting your midheaven. So again, the area of life that is connected to social status, highest achievements, social recognition, authority figures, public responsibilities, and things like that, then Jupiter's transit will, energy and transit will influence your career this year. Okay, so this can indicate that higher knowledge and wisdom gained through, because this is your 9th house Lord and 6th house Lord. So it can show that higher knowledge and wisdom gained through dealing with obstacles. positively influences career, reputation, status, those types of things. Or there can be benefits or luck coming out of challenge, obstacle, conflict, or imbalance that somehow improves working conditions in some way. This can also be a time period when you're sharing knowledge within your profession that somehow helps others out of imbalances or challenging situations as well. Very supportive for those types of things. Or it can indicate the study of something that brings expansion of knowledge, or that might be required within your career. And you can even, get a boost in title or status through those things. So it could be like leveling up your education or whatever it is. The sixth house experiences also are being brought to visibility. The midhaven is a very visible point, and a point of manifestation there. So influences, this can bring important choices and inspirations within career as well. Or, finding the right guidance to be able to resolve any, problems work related, can be found very easily. This can show that a teacher, a guru, a mentor, a guide of some kind, a father figure, a boss, a coach, or foreign influences as well might have a positive influence on your career or status. This can show that luck, opportunity, divine inspiration, meaning, and purpose can be found in work and in daily life. Sixth house is very much lifestyle and things like that. So it can even be elevated status within work life. In another way, it can show that travel may play a role or be required for career. Again, education, or those things can bring opportunity to career as well. And even just, education is very strongly supported with this transit as well. For focusing on achieving, because this is a point of our highest achievements and things like that, what we're very focused on. With the sixth house lord there as well, you can be focused on achieving something connected with work, with health, diet, lifestyle, exercise, receive support with those things. And it is a really great transit for those who work in fields connected to these houses. So healers, coaches, nutritionists, those who work in fields of diet, lifestyle, exercise, work with hygienic professions, or, things keeping up hygiene and things like that. Fields of medicine, nursing, service-oriented fields, working with those who have, addictions and things like that, something where you're helping others, or helping others to fix a problem or a conflict or an imbalance of some kind can be seen. Or also fields, if you're in any field of litigation, this is quite good, working with animals, working with the underprivileged, fields connected to foreigners, foreign lands, spiritual fields, and those Jupiterian fields that we had mentioned previously as well. So that's just a little bit more specific for Cancer rising if you have midhaven in the sign of Pisces, because you also have your sixth house lord transiting there and your ninth house lord. Okay, so now let's look at Jupiter moving into the sign of Aries. Okay, so now for Jupiter moving into the sign of Aries. So Jupiter within career, general, collective around Jupiter being in the sign of Aries. What is Aries? Aries is a very pioneering type of energy. It is very action oriented. It's very physical. It's very competitive. It's very courageous. It's also quite confrontational. It's very militant. It's a very energetic sign because this is the sign or the archetype of the athlete, soldier, warrior, competitor, fighter, the hero, the winner, things like that as well. So those things connected to Aries can definitely increase during this time. But Jupiter wants to, expand or grow, believe, give blessings, opportunities, rewards, give us permission, increase our awareness. So when it's connected to career, so in general for Jupiter moving into the sign of Aries, especially if you have your midhaven between 0 and 8 degrees of Aries. So this will apply to you if you have 10th house in Aries, 10th house cusp in Aries, especially between those degrees, or if Jupiter is aspecting your sun or 10th house lord, you can also consider that if you're a little bit more advanced in astrology, and it will carry some similar meanings. Okay, so this is an amazing energy for initiating a new career or for receiving new exciting opportunities within career. Maybe that comes through new roles or duties, positions within an existing career. And this is also great energy for demonstrating, courage in your sense of faith or beliefs, or with optimism. This can give you, more fighting ability within career, becoming more action oriented within career in a positive way, in a way that benefits your reputation or status in some way. So it can't even just be this newfound sense of urgency where you combine action with faith and belief and optimism, which is a really powerful combination. So Jupiter likes to be, it does well in the sign of Aries. And this can also be something that kind of stimulates your ambition and allows you to reach those new heights by putting action behind those, beliefs and maybe even the dreams that came about when Jupiter was conjunct Neptune or transiting Pisces as well. So this can also boost ambition towards career. Your wealth can begin to increase. You can receive benefits, opportunities, or again, a chance for expanded awareness around career. And you can even take divinely guided risks or have strokes of luck that way through career by acting again. This is a great energy for pioneering a field, gaining more strength, having more stamina within career, finding more meaning, purpose, and inspiration within career for sure. And so it's more like a spirited pursuit towards achievement or towards self-started endeavors. And you can be experiencing more freedom with those things, more directness and things like that. So this is a really great energy for those that are in highly competitive fields, in sports related industries, those who coach others, physically, or even just through pure motivation and things like that. Those that are in fields of physical movement, working with the physical body, working with fire, heat, welding, sharp objects, tools, things like that. Aries is also like speed, and it's, first responders and things like that. It acts in emergency, those types of things. Mars ruled sign, fields of conflict, battle, fighting, those types of things. But collectively, it is a transit that can increase fighting ability, energy, and good luck and fortune can come through our ability to initiate things, take the lead, have a pioneering spirit, and act with that fiery passion, enthusiasm, and force as well. So if we take a deeper look into the signs that this is directly related to their career, again, you can also consider if Jupiter is aspecting your sun from the sign of Aries or your 10th house Lord. But if you have 10th house in the sign of Aries or your midhaven in the sign of Aries, especially between 0 and 8 degrees, first of all, Cancer rising has the natal 10th house in the sign of Aries. And so for Cancer rising people, this is the 9th and 6th house Lord transiting the 10th house. So again, this is the sector of your chart that is connected with career, vocation, social status, highest achievements, social recognition, authority figures, and things like that. So those are being influenced by Jupiter's transit. So again, Jupiter is a planet that brings blessings, opportunities, rewards, and things like that. And so this can talk about, definitely starting a new beginning within career, or having increased ambition or action, determination, motivation, independence within career. There can even be a potential for career rethinking because we are having, the Mars retrograde this year as well. So with Mars ruling your 10th house, there can be a lot of energy behind, building something, putting in a lot of efforts behind the scenes to expand career status in some way. This can indicate, especially with the sixth house Lord here, that conflicts, battles, competition, assertion within career can bring unique opportunities actually, or a newfound sense of purpose or direction as well within career. Also a motivational figure of some kind, coach, guru, mentor, teacher, all those things can really motivate you and bring benefit into these houses as well. So for example, 6th house Lord transiting the 10th house. This can be a really good time for hiring or working with a coach, a teacher, personal trainer, lawyer, doctor, nutritionist, those types of things, or if you're in those types of fields. This can also be a transit that gives you this increase or boost in things like energy, drive, ambition, leadership, independence, passion, or again, starting something new in these areas of life, because this is, the first sign of the zodiac is Aries. And doing that can bring visible opportunities and a potential for advancement and benefit within career status as well. Also a teacher, mentor, boss figure may offer guidance, wisdom, support in a way that elevates you or helps you to resolve something as well, because it's also a sixth house lord, or helps you to cultivate more faith, belief, and purpose into what it is that you're trying to achieve. Also being the ninth house lord. So travel and education for career also possible. So this is a really great transit for those that are connected to fields that have to do these houses as well. So, if you are in healing fields, medical fields, if you're a coach, nutritionist, those who work in fields of diet, exercise, lifestyle, those hygienic types of professions, fields of medicine, nursing, service-related industries, working with addictions, professions where you're helping to fix or correct or resolve a problem, a conflict, or an imbalanced situation of some kind. Even fields of litigation, things like that, working with animals or the underprivileged, those types of things. You can even take the lead on something connected to this area of life, or fields that are connected to foreign lands, spiritual fields, and those Jupiterian fields as well that we'd mentioned before. Now, if you have a Leo rising with your 10th house cusp in the sign of Aries, especially from that 0 to 8 degrees, then this means that your 5th house lord and 8th house lord are transiting your midheaven in the 9th house. And this actually forms 4 wealth yogas. So I do find this transit a little bit auspicious. So again, the area of life that's connected to career, vocation, social status, highest achievement, social recognition is receiving benefit, opportunity, reward from Jupiter. But it's also connecting something with your career, with your 5th and 8th house lord, and this is also transiting your 9th house. So quite a bit going on here, because 5th house lord in the 9th is a lucky combination or a wealth yoga. The 8th house lord in the 9th house is another one. And then you have 5th house lord with the 10th house cusp and 8th house lord with the 10th house cusp. So this can show, again, combining all of this, that there can be some kind of powerful transformation within career that brings new opportunities and a new sense of purpose in both life and career. This can also show that, matters connected to children or romantic partners in some way may influence your career to a certain extent, or in some way, like the way that you express yourself can be have a direct influence on career. So, or your reputation in some way. So this is almost like kind of like a fame indicator, becoming visible in that kind of work or taking on a center stage role in some way. It can show, this death and rebirth going on within career or within status and things like that. Raises and, but it would be in a more positive way with Jupiter. This also shows that raises and promotions also possible, lucky opportunities coming to you that elevate your career in some way. It can even show some kind of crisis or power struggle with a boss or authority figure that becomes a blessing or ends up bringing joy and expansion in some way. This can also be a really great year for recognition and visibility to the public of your creativity, of your talents. Even a big focus on creating something connected to self-started businesses supported with this energy, or you can again receive a opportunity to take on a center stage role, to be in the public eye, or to receive some kind of honor or achievement as well. And this can also show taking risks within the career that somehow pay off, or maybe you become inspirational in your field, or you get inspired, which elevates your success in some way. So this is actually a great transit for those that work with stocks, investments, self-started business owners, those that work with children in fields of education, those who have students or work in mentorship types of programs, those that are in fields of entertainment, creative fields where you're in the spotlight or take on a center stage role, fields connected to fun, recreation, sports and things like that can be seen, even fields of romance, fields of recreation, publishing your creative works to the world. This is a really great transit for those. And even for those who are artists, psychologists, work with, fields of occult, healing fields, spiritual fields, fields connected to death, crisis research, sex, intimacy, investigation, renewal, and those Jupiter types of fields that we had mentioned before. Okay, now if you have Gemini rising, if you have your 10th house cusp in the sign of Aries, that will be in your 11th house. So this means that your 7th house lord and 10th house lord is going to be transiting your midheaven in the 11th. So this is a great energy for boosting social contacts within career that benefits you in a positive way, or friends, your fan base can increase or expand or bring some kind of blessings or rewards gains within career. Or you can become more ambitious, active, pioneering, or starting new beginnings within friendships with social contacts and networks, a group cause or some kind of community involvement as well, or just in general towards your dreams and towards your goals and things like that can bring more opportunity, expansion, and even financial gains for you guys, because the 11th house is a very gainful house. But with your midheaven here, it's also connected with career. Okay, this is also a really great transit for mutually beneficial collaborations, partnerships, contracts, agreements, or support from others with your goals. This can indicate that benefits, opportunities, support, expansion can come through others or through the ability to network and market within career as well, or expand your social influence, expand your social contacts and things like that. So collaborations and all those things can give this increase in clients, this increase with finances or status or visibility in some way. You can also receive an opportunity for financial gains or guidance around these things, benefits or blessings coming from, an authoritative figure as well, or receiving guidance with, how to achieve your goals, those types of things, learning things connected there. And this can also indicate a new sense of faith, belief, and optimism, or an increase in energy that you apply towards new goals, boost your career in some way. So this is a really great transit for those whose careers involve community, reaching the masses, social causes, working with technology, mass communication, with finances, stock markets, working with groups, large groups or large audiences. If you're in any kind of social work, work that is connected to friends and associates, it's quite beneficial. Humanitarian fields, client-based professions, consulting professions, international foreign business, imports, exports, fields of negotiation, contract-based work or forming business relationships, contracts, agreements, relationship fields of work as well. This becomes quite good. Okay, so let's move on to Uranus. And we're going to speed things up here because it's already getting quite lengthy. But with the outer generational planets, these planets will only affect, people with the outer planets making a very close aspect in orb to these positions. So again, you can consider if this planet is moving through your 10th house, especially though if it's making a direct connection, especially within a couple of degrees of your midheaven. Your midheaven ruler, if you're a little bit more advanced, or even with your sun as well, it can bring some of these developments within career. So Uranus, it continues to move through the sign of Taurus. So January 1st, Uranus will be in retrograde at 10 degrees of Taurus. January 18th, Uranus will station to move direct at 10 degrees of Taurus. And then August 24th, Uranus will station to go retrograde at 18 degrees of Taurus. So Uranus will be moving from 10 to 18 degrees of Taurus this year. And the last day of 2022, Uranus will be on 15 degrees of Taurus in its retrograde motion. So Uranus in career. So this is, Taurus will rule the 10th house for Leo, but also if you have your midheaven in the sign of Taurus, especially between 10 and 18 degrees, then Uranus will have a strong impact on career for you this year. Or again, if it's making a close aspect to your sun or your 10th house lord, then the area of life that is connected to career, vocation, social status, highest achievement, social recognition, public reputation, all those things are going to be influenced by Uranus's energy and transit. So Uranus is a planet that brings freedom, it brings liberation, breakthroughs, detachment, separation, sudden electrifying exciting or even shocking events. This is a very genius planet, but can also be quite disruptive. It's very inventive, it's very original, it's very eccentric, rebellious type of energy, also highly experimental, and it's very revolutionary. So Uranus is connected with all those things that are out there, unique, eccentric, progressive, unconventional for sure. Those things that are futuristic or advanced in some way. It's very technological type of planet as well. And it rules things that involve frequency, vibration, mass communication. It's like that information that's coming through the airspace and things like that. And Uranus, will seek to break the mold of societal norms or the constructs of social norms in some way, or what is normally socially acceptable. So that's where we get this rebellious type of energy. So if Uranus is within a couple of degrees orb to one of the things that I had mentioned, then if it's in a hard or challenging aspect, so conjunction, opposition, the square and things like that, this can indicate swift or sudden disruptions within career life that may affect your career status or something that you've been trying to achieve in a way that can feel very stressful, shocking, or disruptive in some way, or kind of unnerving as well. Or it can indicate that new things may be introduced into career that bring some level of discomfort or push your own boundaries and limitations in some way. So with Uranus transits in a hard aspect, embracing change, new things, becoming more experimentational are kind of key with that transit. If Uranus is making a positive aspect, and this can also come with a conjunction, but also the trine and the sextile, then those changes can also be received in a more positive or more supportive type of way, where it can bring developments that are, more welcomed or embraced by the individual who's having that aspect, or in a way that feels less disruptive. It's more of an exciting type of energy. And this can also indicate sudden opportunities in career can be possible. And they may even appear in a very stimulating type of a way. This is the positive side of Uranus. Or in a way that allows you to embrace your individuality, authenticity, or uniqueness in some way as well. Also quite positive if you're in Uranian types of fields. And this transit can also bring a positive liberation, new innovations, forward and progressive, out of the box thinking, inspirations, and even this electrifying new sense of excitement that can bring benefit and positive results. This can even show a swift change to career status achievement that's in a positive way, or also it can show implementing Uranian things into the realm of career, or working again in those Uranian fields can be supportive with this transit. So science, technology, research, freelancing, using the internet or technology, things like that are supported within career if you're having that in with one of the more positive aspects going on. Okay, now if you are having hold on. If you are having Pluto transits going on, so again, if Pluto's in very close orb to your 10th house cusp, if it's transiting your 10th house, but especially if it's really close to your 10th house cusp, or your midhaven, or your 10th house lord or sun as well, you can also consider this. Pluto's still moving through the sign of Capricorn. Pluto's transits are very long. So January 1st, Pluto is direct at 25 degrees of Capricorn. April 29th, Pluto will station to go retrograde at 28 degrees of Capricorn. And then October 8th of 2022, Pluto will station to go direct at 26 degrees of Capricorn. So you can see Pluto's only moving a couple of degrees this year because it is so slow. And then the last day of 2022, Pluto was on 27 degrees direct. So we're moving from 25 to 27 degrees. So if you have one of those things that I mentioned there, then it will have a powerful influence over career if it's within orb. So Pluto transits are, quite intense. This is a planet that brings very powerful transformations. It's like the gateway to something totally different, where you walk through a door and that door closes and it's different forever. So it rules those things, like those big transformations that happen. It's connected to those more intense things as well: death, rebirth, crisis, reversals, transformations, upheavals, destruction, but also regeneration, deep insights and desires as well, elimination, fear, power, control, sexuality, obsession, focus, ruthlessness, intensity, taboos, healing, things like that as well. Very surgical, very strategic type of planet. Also highly, magnetic and things like that. So especially if it's crossing over your midhaven and things like that, people who have that natally, they have this very powerful sexual magnetism to them, and things like that as well. Pluto's also quite a, mysterious, dark, underworldly, mystical, psychological, magical, powerful, also can be manipulative, and again, very magnetic type of energy. So it's connected with all those things that are hidden or buried or secret, those underworldly things, or those things that require a surgical or psychological approach, or a certain level of invasiveness, deep penetration, strategy, investigation, even transmutation to be able to gain access to them. So Pluto's very interesting energy. Pluto is, it can be this healer, this regenerator, as well as a destroyer. Pluto can be empowerment, but in extreme cases, it can also talk about the abuse of power as well. So if this is affecting career for you, so again, if it's aspecting one of those things that I had mentioned, if it's in a harder, challenging aspect, so the conjunction, opposition, and the square, then this transit can bring, power struggles, control issues, intense experiences into the realm of career and status, or with bosses, with authority figures. And those transformations signified by Pluto can be felt in a more stressful way if it's in a hard aspect. So this can even show like secrets and scandals can become visible or public, especially when the midhaven is involved, which can have an impact on your career reputation, or you might be tested in this realm and need to take your power back from something intense that kind of happened. So for example, in extreme examples, an affair or sexual harassment in the workplace or something like that can become public, or be a source of power struggle, or there could be control issues connected there. Having a very toxic boss as well can happen. So when I had Pluto transit my 10th house co-ruler a few years ago, that was when I encountered this really tyrant, power hungry, control freak boss that really tested me on a psychological level. She was like a bully, she was extremely toxic, all of those things. But in the end, it ended up helping me grow and transform to be able to learn to deal with confrontation, which I was not good at before, in a more healthy, positive way. So, it can be two sides of something. In extreme cases, it can also talk about job loss. So the focus on rebirth and conscious transformation is always recommended when you're having difficult Pluto transits. So I would just keep that in mind. And the hard aspects, they can still give good results, like the example that I had mentioned, and things like that. But placing your focus and awareness on that rebirth and that regeneration, that transformation. If it's in a positive aspect, so the conjunction, trine, or sextile, let's say to your midhaven or 10th house lord, to your sun and things like that, then this can bring a very powerful transformation of reputation, status, career in a more positive way, even if it's initiated by crisis, because Pluto is still very intense. This can also bring a very obsessive focus towards achieving something that gives very powerful results and transformations of what previously existed. So how do we achieve anything? It's through creating this very obsessive focus on something, and that's how we can achieve something very fast as well. Also really amazing for those in plutonic fields of psychology, research, investigation, sex, intimacy, crisis healing, finance, money, resources, regeneration, transformation, occult, being a strategist, field of elimination. It could bring help or support with those, or dealing with things that are hidden or buried under the earth, and those types of things as well. Okay. Then we have Neptune in the sign of Pisces. So again, very small orbs for the generational planets. Neptune has been in Pisces for a while, and it will continue its transit until March 30th of 2025. Neptune, January 1st, Neptune will be direct at 20 degrees of Pisces until April 29th, where it will station to go retrograde at 25 degrees. And then on December 4th, 2022, it will station to move direct at 22 degrees. And the last day of 2022, Neptune is on 22 degrees direct. So Neptune is moving from 20 to 25 degrees within 2022. And we've talked about Neptune briefly with that energy of Jupiter, so we won't recover the conjunction, but just keeping that in mind. But if Neptune is having, if you have, your 10th house in the sign of Pisces, especially with your midheaven, between 20 and 25 degrees, then you will feel this influence very strongly with how it relates to career for you guys. So Neptune, this is a planet that can bring enlightenment, but it can also bring dissolvement, release. This is a very spiritual energy, highly creative. It's all about isolation, empathy, compassion, but it can also bring fogginess, confusion, very intuitive type of energy, very healing, but can also be chaotic. It does rule things like losses, romanticism, idealization as well. It's a planet connected to retreat as well as connectedness, more like a connection to something else higher though. In a shadow way, Neptune can be deception, illusion. Neptune is also glamour. It's can represent addiction, sensitivity, it's oneness as well, imagination, mysticism, faith, or outer worldly or subconscious influence it can kind of have as well. And again, it can be a very sacrificing, charitable type of energy. So sacrifice is defined as the offering of things on a material plane to a higher entity or energy or purpose. So it doesn't always have to be, in a negative way. But it can indicate if you have something going on within career, there can be, some element of sacrifice that goes on, there. Neptune is also, very angelic, very artistic, spiritual, psychic, healing energy, but also highly elusive, can be misleading, secretive, and illusionary. So it's a planet that is connected with those things that are unconscious, invisible, unknown, or otherworldly, and to those things that require faith, belief, emotion, or connecting to something higher, or going into unconscious or altered states to be able to access them. And that's where we can lose connection to drugs and things like that as well. And then people can get addicted to those altered states and those types of things. So if Neptune is making a hard or challenging aspect to your 10th house cusp, 10th house ruler, or even your sun, then this transit might require you to sacrifice or let go of some aspect of career, status, reputation in a way that feels challenging, or it can even make you feel lost or confused in some way. So there's a process of spiritualization going on with these things, and it can dematerialize them, which is basically spiritualization going on. And those things can be, difficult in some way, felt in a difficult way, or it can also show that over idealism, wearing rose-colored glasses with these matters can somehow be misleading or a source of disappointment later on. So trying to understand these things through higher universal principles, practicing faith, forgiveness, compassion are key with this transit. So I could definitely relate to that one as well. I have Neptune has been for years transiting my sun. Sun is also my 3rd house ruler, so it's been a confusing time. But within career, this is when I went from this lower form of actually Neptunian career, working in a bar and things like that, feeding people's addictions, to spiritual fields, making that transition. So those can also happen, but then there's also this confusion of like, what am I doing? This is not realistic, whatever. So it could be that type of thing. If it's in a positive aspect, again, that can also include the conjunction, or if it's in a trine or sextile going on. This transit is almost like a dream come true type of energy, where you can really boost imagination within the realm of career and things like that as well. You can receive accurate intuitions within career and with authority figures and things like that. I think I forgot to mention in a hard aspect, that can definitely show some kind of shady behavior, misleading types of things going on within the workplace, and those as well. But in a positive aspect, it can give a boost in creativity, feeling connected to your work as well. You might receive divine guidance and inspiration. Again, the spiritualization of career that's felt or received in a positive way, even if some form of loss or sacrifice is needed. Faith can also help you achieve new heights as well. So I'm just kind of laughing because this has been a couple year transit for me. It's definitely resonating. So this is a really amazing energy for those that are in Neptunian fields. So fields of therapy, healing, dealing with secrets, hidden things, things on the unconscious or spiritual, energetic levels, things like that. Also for artists, musicians, those in spiritual fields, fields of escapism, or that are connected to otherworldly or altered states of consciousness that can go in a positive or negative way, or careers that involve compassion, empathy, charity, or working in isolation. So that's another thing that kind of happened. I went from a very social career to working in absolute isolation. Or foreign places and things like that is also possible with Neptune. But it can bring support, opportunity, also through Neptunian things. So Neptune also rules things like liquids, medicines, oils, oceans, photography, film, research, being a film director, working in visionary types of fields, or where you just need a high level of imagination and creativity. So those can come into career as well. Okay, so that is all of the outer and slow moving planets. So let's move on here because I want to wrap this up. Okay, so now with the faster moving personal planets, we're not going to get too much into these. Of course, we can't track all the transits that are going on with these planets, but I did want to mention the Mercury retrogrades, especially being that Mercury is a planet of business, of communication, all of those things that are, really needed within career and things like that. So January 1st, Mercury will be direct at 28 degrees of Capricorn. January 14th, Mercury will station to go retrograde at 10 degrees of Aquarius, and then station to go direct at 24 degrees of Capricorn. May 10th, Mercury will station to go retrograde at 4 degrees of Gemini. And then June 3rd, Mercury will station to go direct at 26 degrees of Taurus. September 10th, Mercury will station to go retrograde at 8 degrees of Libra. And then October 2nd, Mercury will station to move direct at 24 degrees of Virgo. December 29th, we have 4 retrogrades of Mercury this year, but towards the very end of 2022. So December 29th, Mercury will station to go retrograde at 24 degrees of Capricorn, and then will station to move direct at 8 degrees of Capricorn in 2023. And the last day of 2022, Mercury is on 23 degrees of Capricorn direct. Also, I did want to mention the dates and degrees of when Mercury is visible. So these can be favorable times for launching those things connected to Mercury. So anything that deals with the exchange of information, ideas, services, things connected to communication, all of those, projects related there. Or favorable for business dealings, things like that. So February 9th to February 13th. 25 degrees of Capricorn to 28 degrees of Capricorn, Mercury will be visible. April 8th to May 8th, July 2nd to July 6th, October 3rd to October 28th, and December 14th to December 25th as well. Those are the visible time periods of Mercury this year. So just keeping that in mind. Okay, so Mercury, the important transits of Mercury with this retrograde, and I wanted to include this in a bit more of a general way instead of looking at if Mercury rules your midheaven, but if it does, or Mercury has a strong connection to the kind of work that you're doing, then I would definitely pay special attention to these time periods. So Mercury in astrology is this businessman, it's this entrepreneur. Mercury is a messenger, skilled opportunist as well. And in mythology, he was the god of language, writing, invention, who was very skilled with his hands as well. So retrogrades and the visible time periods relevant for those in mercurial types of careers, or launching or doing mercurial types of pursuits, endeavors, and things like that. Again, you know, important to pay attention to these time periods. So if you're in fields of communication, messaging, delivery, driver, errand types of services, if you work with the exchange of media, marketing, commerce of ideas and things like that, information, services or products, writing, speaking, language, translation, news, journalism, travel, transport, transit, transportation, methods of commute as well. Working for the media, printers, papers, news, mailing, messaging, technology, sales, accounting, editing, copywriting, content creation, information gathering or processing as well. Teaching, training, education, hands-on skills and learning as well. It's kind of like your craft is Mercury. Business exchanges, transactions, sales, entrepreneurial or enterprising types of endeavors, things connected to telecommunications, software, electronics, communication devices, programmers, buying, selling, trading, markets, local shops, small businesses, things like that. They're all seen through Mercury or connected with Mercury. And so, I feel like Mercury kind of applies to everybody. It's a very useful type of energy, but do pay special attention if it does rule your midhaven, or if those retrogrades transit over your midhaven or your 10th house lord or your sun as well. So the interesting thing though with Mercury retrogrades this year is that they are starting in air signs and they are moving into earth signs. And so I feel that this is a year for kind of capitalizing on or turning your ideas into reality, because last year, 2021, Mercury went retrograde in all the air signs. So now I feel like it's time to put those into physical, tangible, material form. The way that we communicate, relate, interact, socialize, and connect with others has really been revised, reworked, reevaluated over this past year. So now that's becoming interconnected with the material realm as well. So, the way we spend, save, earn, work, fix, correct, build, materialize, establish ourselves is also coming into this process of revision. So definitely taking some of those ideas and grounding them is the energy that I see with these Mercury retrogrades. So on a collective level, again, this year can definitely carry those themes of solidifying some of those changes that impacted the way that we exchange with one another, communicate with each other, the way that we share ideas and information with each other, how we socially or economically interact with others, as well as the world, whether that's on an individual, personal, or collective level. So this year is kind of, for me, those things that were up in the air in 2021 can now become more grounded and solidified and things like that as well. So the retrograde time periods that I had mentioned, that's not really a recommended time period for starting brand new mercurial things, such as launching mercurial projects or new business or career initiatives and things like that. It's more supportive for redeveloping, rethinking, reinventing certain aspects of career, or wherever it's transiting in your personal chart, or revisiting things from the past and putting effort into integrating them in a way that can influence your career, if it's crossing over your midhaven or something like that, or developing, planning, restructuring around, career and things like that, or ideas that you have, or doing some introspection connected to those things as well. Okay, so for Venus retrograde, this is a continuing retrograde from 2021. And I actually did a video around this. So if you want more information on this, you can check out that video as well. But the important transits of Venus, these are all the Venus ingress dates. I'm not going to go over them, but if you're interested, you can pause the video and take note of those. January 1st, Venus will be retrograde at 23 degrees of Capricorn. And So December 19th of 2021 was when Venus stationed to go retrograde at 26 degrees of Capricorn, and Venus will start to move direct January 29th. It will station go direct at 11 degrees of Capricorn. Venus is invisible from January 5th to 11th, and Venus is also invisible for October 1st to December 2nd. So if you have any Venusian things, relationships maybe not good to be starting in that time, or if you are in careers that are somehow related to Venus, so working with women, collaborations, partnerships, contracts, agreements, beauty, design related fields, working with money and things like that. So if you are in a Venus related field, it might be important to take note of the invisible time periods and the retrograde time periods, as the retrograde time periods might not be appropriate times for starting brand new Venusian things, launching Venusian projects, or business and career initiatives that are connected to the energy of Venus. So those in Venus types of careers, or those that are having this transit going on in connection with their midheaven. So Venus is transiting the midheaven, the 10th Lord, the Sun, or the 10th house as well. This transit can definitely impact career for you, but also if you're in a Venusian field. So if you're in fields of art, music, design, if you work with finance, style, trends, tactiles, the fashion industry, beauty industry, or Venus is also those industries that are kind of targeted towards women. They're not just for women, but things like makeup, jewelry, perfumes, glamour, things like that, working with luxurious goods or things of high value or things of high beauty. So it's luxurious services and products as well, whether you're, a luxury soap maker or something like that, or if you're a makeup artist, those types of things are also seen with Venus. If you're in any kind of relationship, sex, or pleasure-based industries, that can also be seen with Venus. If you're in fields of marriage as well, so wedding planner, those types of things, very Venusian, or again, those kind of female demographic-based industries. Fields of that stimulate the five senses in some ways, so things like a florist, massage therapist, even food industry, working with sweets or sugars, baking, things like that can be seen with Venus. Or again, financial fields that deal with valuables, things of high value as well, that deal with material comforts. And Venus is also can be connected to artistic fields of design, working with aesthetics. And of course, she is the planet of cooperation, balance, harmony, negotiating, consulting, peaceful type of planet. She's also connected with music, so singing, the voice, public speaking. So during the Venus retrograde and the invisible time periods, again, might not be a great time period for starting brand new Venusian things. These time periods can be much more supportive for redeveloping, rethinking, restructuring, or reinventing certain aspects of career that is connected to Venus as well. Things from the past can come back to be reintegrated in some way. And this year is starting with Venus in retrograde. So the year starts with the energy of finances, business values, relationships being reevaluated, being restructured. And Venus also makes these connections with Pluto in the sign of Capricorn. So again, I did quite a lengthy video. If you're more interested in the nitty gritty of this transit, you can definitely check that out as well. But this year, this energy at the beginning of the year is actually quite a great transit for thinking about or creating awareness around what you want to materialize this year in terms of relationships, finances, career, and setting ambitious and realistic goals in these areas, maybe not acting on them right away, but while also getting quite serious about the necessary changes that need to be made in order to achieve something. Okay, so let's move on. And with Mars, we're going to approach Mars in a little bit of a different way, just because this is a bit more rare of a transit. So Mars only goes retrograde once every 2 years. So the ingress dates of Mars, if you guys are interested, are posted here. So you can see Mars moves into Capricorn January 24th, Aquarius March 6th, Pisces April 15th, Aries May 24th, Taurus July 5th, Gemini August 20th, and then Mars will be in Gemini until March 25th of 2023. October 30th is when Mars stations to go retrograde at 25 degrees of Gemini. And then January 12th of 2023 will station to move direct at 8 degrees of Gemini. So its retrograde is solely in the sign of Gemini. And on the last day of 2022, Mars will be on 9 degrees of Gemini in its retrograde motion. So this becomes very important for those that are in Mars-related careers, or those that have a strong connection with Mars, to their 10th house, to their midheaven, their sun or 10th house lord as well. So Mars types of fields, if we're relating this back to career, this is fields of, extreme sport, even sometimes fields of competition, where you have to utilize physical force or movement in some way. Danger, conflict is involved in the kind of work that you do, where you have to act fast. So fields that involve speed, fire, heat, tools, weapons, metal, sharp objects, and things like that. Mars is very surgical and things like that as well. If Mars is also the police force, soldiers, firemen, military, first responders, surgeons, defense, people who work in defense and security as well, or those that are in construction industries, sports-related fields, athletes, trainers, if you work with machinery, equipment, engineering, with things like hunting, even like a barber can be seen with a strong Mars connection to midheaven. That's more of a combination one, but it's, again, using sharp objects. So if you're using tools or weapons, or you work with meats, or if you're a butcher, you work in slaughterhouses, things like that, fields of strategy or risk-taking or self-motivation, or where there's a high sense of urgency. So those hero-related fields are seen with Mars as well, or those winner types of where there has to be a winner, or, Mars-related fields. So but in a less literal sense, a career that requires a lot of directness, courage, passion, fighting ability, the ability to deal with confrontation or fight for something or someone, or use force or ambition, invasiveness, something that's very action-oriented, fields that require you to face tasks or hurdles or challenges, or that involve working with that fighting spirit, violence, willpower, aggression, assertion, or one's physical or sexual energy as well can be seen with those fields related to Mars. So Mars transits of 2022. So again, if Mars is your 10th house lord, if it's transiting your midheaven, or transits your 10th house lord. Oh, hold on one second. Okay, sorry about that. So if Mars is your 10th house lord, your midheaven ruler, if it's transiting your 10th house lord or sun with this retrograde and things like that, actually also Mars will be making a conjunction. It will conjunct each of the outer and social planets in 2022. So Mars will conjunct Pluto, it will conjunct Saturn, Jupiter, Neptune, and Uranus this year. So those dates, if Mars has that strong connection to career as well, those can be important dates. So Mars will conjunct Pluto on March 3rd. Venus is also involved in this conjunction. This is happening at 27 degrees of Capricorn. So the higher manifestation of that can give you extreme ambition or desire within career, the ability to, have very influential types of actions and things like that. There could be a major shift in energy that leads to success or big transformation within career, or a lot of energy applied towards personal power transformation as well. In a lower form, especially if Mars is very strongly connected to career, around this time it can give power struggles, control issues, difficult crisis or transformation within career, hidden or destructive actions or motivations as well. And conjunct Venus, relationships, self-worth, partnerships, money, values, pleasure, and attraction can play a role in this. Mars will conjunct Saturn April 5th at 22 degrees of Aquarius. So the higher manifestation of this can be talking about achieving a high level of mastery, control, or seriousness over actions that can bring positive results, or this strong ambition to achieve, to build, to climb, to overcome. But in its lower form, because these are enemy planets, it can talk about losses or lack of energy or disappointment, separation, stagnation, blockages, fear or consequences for actions within career as well, even conflicts with authority figures, governments, those types of things. Mars will conjunct Neptune May 18th at 24 degrees of Pisces. In its higher form, this is a very spiritual warrior type of energy. So it can talk about, a lot of action taken towards compassionate or spiritually guided types of actions. Very good for creative pursuits, becoming this spiritual warrior, or becoming influential within career as well. Also, if you're into things like martial arts and things like that, really great energy for manipulation of energy, or energy channeling and things like that. In its lower form, this can talk about losses, emotionally reactive situations that can affect your reputation, secret or hidden actions, or confusion, misdirected actions, efforts, or sacrifice. So it is the general energy, but if it's connected to career, it will show up in the realm of career. So again, if that's in your 10th house, happening near your 10th house cusp, your 10th house lord, or your sun. Then Mars will conjunct Jupiter May 29th at 3 degrees of Aries. So in its higher form, this can show your actions are very strongly aligned with beliefs, and this can give positive results. It's a big energetic boost towards achievement, career expansion, and opportunity as well. In its lower form, this can give conflicts of belief, overexertion of energy as well, overestimation, or being overly ambitious can lead to being overwhelmed or taking on too much. Mars will conjunct Uranus August 1st, and Rahu is involved in this. So Rahu can can amplify things. Again, Rahu is connected to materialization, progression, but it can also be the shapeshifter, trickster type of energy. So there can be karmic lessons involved. In a higher form, this can show coming at a problem from a new angle, or new inspirations, or sense of desire for freedom within career, liberation, or taking very inspired action. In its lower form, this can show, because both of these energies are quite explosive, quite impulsive. So it can show impulsive, sudden, explosive, shocking types of developments or separation, unpredictability, or risky behavior going on within career vocation as well. Okay, so with Mars retrograde, again, this happens every 2 years and 2 months, so I wanted to go a little bit more in depth. But things that are supported in these Mars retrograde time periods are things like finding answers for motivations and stresses, reformulating a plan of action, analyzing, the way that you fix problems, find solutions, take action, putting energy into correcting or fixing, reorganizing, resolving any issues connected there can be going on. And it's like an internalization of Mars as well. So just be aware of, especially with, with Mars in the sign of Gemini, when it goes retrograde there. There can be a big, basically revision of, like, it can be quite good for analyzing self-talk and things like that, or methods of communication, but that might be, it's a very combative, Mars is our weapon, and Gemini's words and things like that. So there might be some, consequences of or speaking too fast, saying the wrong thing, where you have to go back and kind of reevaluate some of those things as well. Or you can be resolving any issues connected to, or doing introspection on things like your opinions, ideas, plans, skills, projects, business, marketing strategies, those types of things as well. And this is an unsupportive time, I would say, of new martial types of projects or undertakings, such as, battle. So if you are thinking of starting like a court battle or something like that, I would maybe wait till Mars goes direct again. So those types of things are kind of collectively more unsupported. Things like litigation, business, exercise routines, surgeries, new jobs, new sexual relationships, things that require a lot of physical exertion or martial energy. So drive, initiation, confrontation, things like that might not be recommended during the retrograde time period. Okay. So, and then if Mars again is going retrograde in your 10th house, is making a connection to your midhaven, or if it's aspecting going retrograde over 10th house lord or sun as well, then Mars can make this really strong connection to career, both with its direct transit, but also the retrograde that would be felt much more strongly. So if that's going on this year for you, then Mars is having a strong influence to career. So especially the retrograde time period can be really amazing for rethinking how you exert your energy within career, fixing your approach to career-related or associated duties and responsibilities. And you might even be rethinking your career path in some way. So it's actually a great time period for starting to plan and reevaluate, refocus your mental energy or communicative ability before taking action. I would wait till the direct motion to do that before you engage in any outwardly confronting any issues or initiating new ideas or projects that are connected with career, things like publicly speaking out or attacking a person or problem. It's more like think like a Scorpio. So it's this introspective expression of Mars. So think of those strategies and plan those things and, get all those things together, form a strategy versus acting on it yet. Also be aware of any conflict or battles, especially verbally over ideas, opinions, and things like that within the workplace. And if there is altercations there, they may cause you to reflect on the way you communicate with the public or with other people, or question certain social contacts, friendships, collaborations, especially those that are connected with career. If Mars retrograde is making one of those connections that I mentioned to career, then also be cautious of public attacks or engaging in those, as that can affect your public reputation, especially verbally. That can even be through social media and those types of things as well. Okay. Okay, so I'm wrapping this up because this video's already went a bit longer than I had anticipated. But as promised, I did want to give a general analysis for each of the 12 signs. You can check these from your sun, moon, or rising sign of some of the major themes or energies connected to your sign for 2022. So these ones are not just career related. But for Aries rising, this is a year when you can be receiving benefits, blessings, rewards, or an expanded sense of awareness or purpose as well. There's also an aspect this year for you guys of moving between two worlds, and we're talking about the transit of Jupiter. So you do have Jupiter transiting your 12th house, coming into your first house briefly, and then going back into the 12th house. So there's a year, this connection this year between like the contemplation of something, building dreams behind the scenes and things like that, and then creating something, taking action on something, even though there's this, process of recontemplation that goes on with those things as well. So, this can indicate having, you might have big plans or dreams that are being worked on in the shadows this year, and there could be some experimentation with bringing those things out as well. But a lot of support on both a spiritual, energetic, and physical level as well. So it's definitely a year for acting on inspirations and divine guidance that you may receive, even if it does need some reworking later on as well. So again, you're receiving supports and benefits from this physical level as well as on this energetic level as you prepare for this new cycle of growth within your life when Jupiter fully enters the sign of Aries as well. Okay, and then there's also themes this year to go within, to do some quiet contemplation, reflection, and retreat and isolate yourself to a certain extent, whether that's from physical reality, the material world, and things like that, while you develop these things. But your life path, purpose, and goals for the future are all strongly highlighted this year. Growth and processes with goals, finances, gains, and feeling connected may still pose some challenges for you that need to be worked through, or this might feel, or may just feel like these things require, much effort and things like that, or an increased sense of duty and responsibility. So you might be working on something that gives long-term results or has a long-term influence and things like that as well. But it can feel like that process is a little bit slowed down to a certain extent, or there can be still this energy of facing challenges, blockages, delays, and boundaries as you go and things like that, or even a feeling of being blocked by social factors or connections. But again, practicing a high level of discipline, mastery, and commitment will lead you long-term lasting rewards that are connected with such goals. And of course, we're talking about Saturn moving through your 11th house. In terms of the nodes, you can be receiving an unconscious push this year to develop your own sense of safety, security, and comfort within your life. And you can also become very determined in regards to these matters as well. Connected to your personal finances, you may even become experimental, innovative, or try new things when it comes to spending, saving, investing, and earning or accumulating things. Do be aware of overspending and things like that. But at the same time, you might also be releasing or letting go of past traumas, trust or trust issues as well, a bond that you have with another, whether that's, financial or in other ways. And this can also indicate a mutual resource with or from another can somehow be broken or released as well. So that can manifest in both a positive or a more shadow way. You might even be seeking deeper understanding in the experiences that have challenged and changed you that can reinforce this energy of realizing your own potential when it comes to resources. Okay, so for Taurus rising, rising sun or moon, there is a strong social influence that's being activated within your chart this year. And this may be something that opens new doors and opportunities to you. So things like networking, social life, influence, reach, or fan base can be expanded this year, which can bring potentials for wealth, knowledge, awareness, or experience. And that can lead to financial gains or new sense of purpose, faith, optimism, or belief within your long-term goals as well. You might even benefit from mutual resources in some form, even through, things like sponsorship, things like that, or big transformations going on with goals with your social circles, which can be initiated by some form of crisis, but it can still bring benefits to you, helps to guide you, and can bring blessings or creates new pathways to success for you, whether that's in a material or spiritual sense. There can also be a chance of becoming overwhelmed or overextended with these matters that can give way to a period of retreat, of reevaluation and reflection, especially between May and October. And that might be much needed and may help to you to clarify and align your goals and intentions or get things done behind the scenes before revisiting such matters in October. This year, you can also begin to see results, rewards, support, benefit of achievements that you've been working hard on or putting much effort into. So if you've been experiencing a heavy workload or have had some resistance, delays, blockages, burdens, challenges with career, this is a great year to reformulate your long-term goals and do more, downsizing, streamlining within career, or remove things that aren't working or that aren't in alignment with you anymore. This is also a year that can bring faded new beginnings as well as endings, and even these high and lows that can alter your life path or identity as well. So you can be receiving an unconscious push also towards self-progression and an amplification around things like identity and the way you present yourself to the world and things like that. So you can push yourself this year to new levels of success, or you might be very focused on materializing something solid and stable within your life as well. You might even become experimental with things like personality, identity, your appearance, or with your path in life and with the things you initiate this year, which might even take some faded turns that elevate you in an unusual way as well. There can be releasing this year of projections of relationships or aspects of relationships, the way that others view you or how the audience accepts you, or things connected to visibility within career can also occur. And there is a chance for past life connections that can appear into your life this year as well. Now for Gemini, sun, moon, or rising, this can definitely be a year when you are receiving work-related opportunities, recognition, advancement within your career or status that may boost your financial income or social influence in some way. On a more spiritual level, you may begin to find higher meaning and purpose in the kind of work that you do, or have a stronger sense of faith, belief, and optimism. Those things can increase within career, within your goals. Travel is also possible in connection with work this year. Or you can also be expanding your awareness around careers, such as through education, receiving guidance, receiving coaching, mentorship from another, or if you're in careers related to those. Career-related collaborations and partnerships are definitely supported this year, and they have the potential to be quite gainful, or expand your following and fan base in some way as well, or with your social circles or with social influence as well. And this can support you with things like marketing, networking. You can easily attract or more easily attract those that elevate your career or status in some way. So again, this marriage that can happen in connection with career. So that could be business or professional, or with friends groups, large audiences. Those are also being supported this year. So big advancements with career goals, rewards, financial gain is also possible. If you have been working on long-term goals and projects connected to teaching, publishing, education, you can begin to see some advancements with these. There are still challenges to overcome, and these blockages may require you to get serious about your vision for the future, or might even test your belief system or faith in some way, or your perspective on life in some way. So if you've encountered harsh teachers or lessons over the past year, or had a crisis of faith or belief in some way, you may continue to work through those slow transformations or power struggles connected there, but can also start to find higher value and purpose in those as well, and begin to gain something from those experiences, or start to see the bigger picture with some of those. In another way, you're also receiving an unconscious push towards spirituality, towards the invisible and unconscious realms, or being pulled into isolation or foreign places, or places of isolation as well is possible. We're talking about the nodes, the North Node transiting your 12th house, and that can either be within the mind or on a physical level. You might even become experimental and progressive with your connection to something higher than yourself, but can also delve into self-undoing behavior, so be aware of that. And this can be, again, in a higher or lower way. But definitely your imagination, your dream life can be amplified this year. Exploring spirituality, having a strong desire to even escape this year may give some release or detachment from your daily life and usual routines, and spirituality can influence your daily life in some way. You might even move away from certain menial, materially focused tasks of life, and more into those that are energetic, spiritual, imaginative, creative, subconscious, or those things that exist on an intuitive type of level as well. Okay. For Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising, the major energies of 2022, what I'm feeling for you guys is that this is definitely a year when academic and professional achievements and pursuits are easily supported or easily accessible to you. You might even receive support in the form of good counsel, advice or guidance that elevates your level of awareness or sense of faith, belief, and optimism that brings luck or success in these areas. Or you might develop an interest in higher topics such as philosophy, metaphysics, spirituality yourself. Or there can be opportunities for travel, for teaching, publishing, learning endeavors are also supported. And career advancement, expansion, and recognition are also supported, or you may just find this higher sense of meaning, purpose within your achievements or what you're trying to accomplish this year. You might also start to find higher meaning and purpose or receive helpful guidance in navigating a difficult process of renewal within your life. And this energy can also help if you've been going through a slow process of transformation, or if you've been feeling blocked or encountering challenges or delays on a more deep psychological type of level. With healing, with making big changes that require a lot of effort, or if you're feeling blocked from support from another, whether that's financially, whether that's emotionally, whether that's sexually, any of those. If crisis occurs in one of those areas, or you're facing fears or trauma that is connected to one of these, then hard work, discipline, and mastery paired with this increased sense of belief and guidance, or increased belief and guidance from another, can help to lead to success down the road if that hard effort is put in. And then we're also, you can be receiving an unconscious push this year towards materializing or becoming more experimental with things like long-term goals of yours, or means of gainfulness as well, with the North Node Rahu entering your 11th house. So you may even be connecting with many new people this year who can have also a foreign or unusual influence, or be very different from you, or very different from your normal social circles and things like that as well. Or you can interact with people who can challenge or push you out of your comfort zone in some way as well. Or you could try new and progressive methods when it comes to networking, community, even mass communication, things connected to social influence as well. And this may require you at the same time to release certain aspects of the self, or of your own self-expression, to kind of mold to the energy of the group in some way, or to the community or cause, or the social circles you might be engaged with or experimenting with. You may also find your love life going through a process of spiritualization. And it is also possible to connect with past life romantic connections this year. And you can also be leaving behind old ways of having fun in an effort to achieve or gain something. Okay, for Leo rising, sun, moon, or rising, for you guys, while relationships and partnerships can still be going through this period of considerable testing, added responsibility, even a bit of burden or isolation or breakdown in some cases, this year continues to encourage you to mature in some way, or practice a higher level of commitment, or continues to ask you to become more serious and realistic about your relationships and make tough decisions within them as well. Hard work and effort may be required in this area, but what is built and learned in this time period can crystallize into something very solid and pay off down the road, and give long-lasting results as well if that work has been done. Also, this is a year when you can start to see some rewards and blessings happening that come in the form of beneficial mutual finances, an increase in intimacy, healing, deep bonding with another. You may also develop a deeper understanding or heightened level of awareness around deeper topics, or be pursuing academic studies, educational pursuits. Spiritual or metaphysical studies is also possible, or receive financial guidance or guidance through trauma, or healing more easily. You can also have easier access to the resources of others this year, or what you receive from others, and can more easily receive from others as well. Even things like sponsorship, loans, insurances, taxes, inheritances, things like that. And risks also have the potential to pay off this year. With that one, you definitely want to be taking a look at your personal chart as well. But financial rewards are definitely possible through others, through travel, education, through self-expression and creativity as well. At the same time, you can be receiving this unconscious push towards materializing or becoming experimental and progressive within your career, or within your career path, or your current line of work with what you currently do. So the duties and responsibilities that are involved in your current profession as well. But at the same time, sacrifices may need to be made in connection with home life, with domestic life, in order to achieve and progress within career as well. So matters of home life, private life, family, or even just on an inner emotional level, can be going through a period of release or undoing, or a major spiritualization process. So this is really a great year for doing inner emotional work and healing as well. Okay, for Virgo, Sun, Moon, or Rising, for you guys, the major themes and energy of 2022. As you continue to work hard and put effort into resolving the challenges of daily life and get your health and lifestyle in order, support now comes to you through others. You guys have Jupiter moving through your 7th house. This can be through both personal, professional, romantic relationships at this time, or you can naturally attract the right people, professionals, and partners who guide and support you. You can also receive more help, guidance, and benefit from partnerships, those you consult with this year. And you can even be given permission to easily access the resources and finances of others, of partners, of clients, of government or financial institutions as well. And it's also a good time for investments that are connected to property, or more easily receiving things like loans, sponsorship, financial support. Also, a really great year for healing. Having an increased level of intimacy within relationships, or deep diving into the unknown and finding meaning and understanding on an inner psychological or spiritual level. At the same time, you are receiving an unconscious push towards materializing or becoming experimental and progressive with your perspective on life. So this can be through the belief system, even with your higher moral principles. With Rahu here, it can just be being experimental, or there can be, something, because again, Rahu's kind of trickster and things like that. So beware, don't compromise your values of beliefs and things like that within this year, but it can give you this strong desire to connect with something higher than yourself in a more positive way, or expand your awareness in some way. So this can be through travel, this can be through education, through important teachers, inspirational figures, all of those, or spiritual studies. This can be, this can also be getting out of your local environment, doing long distance travel, or this can be connecting with foreign cultural people or experiences as well this year. And at the same time, you might be releasing old patterns of thinking or of self-talk as you delve into higher topics. So there can be some form of detachment or release going on with people in your everyday environment. So siblings, with close friends, relatives, as you start exploring broader horizons and faraway places, whether that's physically or within the mind as well. Okay, so for Libra, Sun, Moon, or Rising, for you guys, the major themes and energy around 2022. This year, benefit, help, and support comes to you more easily through others. You yourself might be more charitable, service-oriented this year, or you might receive some form of helpful guidance that helps you to resolve something, whether that's a conflict, a debt, an addiction, a problems, or something that helps you to improve your lifestyle in some way, or your health, work life, daily habits, rituals, routines. So it's a beneficial year for finding meaning and purpose in what you do as well, both in your daily life as well as within work, and even for encountering opportunities and support from within the workplace or from the people that you work with and things like that as well. Or if you own your own business, this can be kind of a great energy for finding the right employees and things like that as well. In another way, though, it can show that workload can also increase. And while it's supporting you, it can also continue to limit the amount of time that you have for fun this year, or to do the things that you enjoy, as you're being challenged to take a more serious and mature approach to this area of your life. And if your love life, relationships with children, creativity, self-expression has felt blocked or stagnant, burdensome, or challenging in any way, you can start to find guidance from another or from a partner that comes to you and helps you find higher meaning, understanding, and awareness around any of those issues that supports you. This is also a very good year for long-term creative projects or developing of creative ideas, even self-started business, and can even bring a higher level of commitment within romantic relationships, as well as relationships with children, even if some hard effort is required, and even if you experience some delays, obstacles, fears, added responsibilities, or limitations along the way. Also this year, you are receiving an unconscious push towards exploring and experimenting into the unknown. So even towards those more taboo types of subjects, such as, death, rebirth, transformation, psychology, sex, intimacy, things connected to other people's resources or money, hidden and secretive things, or things that require deep research and deep investigation to get to. So you can even become experimental here or be pushed out of your comfort zone in some way that transforms you very powerfully, or in a way that heals you, or in a way that brings financial support from another to you. So do be aware of compromising your own values at this time, as there's also an influence this year of your own personal values, assets, resources, possessions, and means of spending, saving, investing, and earning that can be going through a process of release or a spiritualization process that can push you further into these areas, and that can manifest in both a higher and lower way as well. Okay, so for Scorpio, sun, moon, or rising, for you guys, the major themes and energy of 2022, and we're taking a look at Jupiter's transit, Saturn's transit, and the transit of the nodes. But this year, luck and opportunity can find you more easily and much more naturally. So you can have an access this year, or you have access this year to an abundance of creativity. And this can even include creativity that's divinely inspired or guided in some way. Even your own level of self-awareness and confidence can receive a boost, which elevates the way that you express yourself to the world this year. So you might even start granting yourself permission to shine, or to have fun, or to be noticed, or to self-express, or to take risks, or receive opportunities to be in center stage roles as well. Personal growth and development are something that is very strongly supported for Scorpios this year. And you might also find a higher sense of meaning or purpose in the kind of work that you do, or what you do on a regular basis. And you can easily receive help and support or guidance with resolving any problems, conflicts, issues connected to lifestyle habits, routines, health, or you yourself might also find yourself in a position of being in service to others, or being charitable to others, and things like that in one of these areas, or learning how to be as well. Also, relationships with children or students can also improve this year or increase in some way. And romantic life can also be expanded. So just be aware of doing any of these things in excess, and try to avoid any overindulgence or overextension in these areas as well. And these influences can bring some relief if you've been feeling burdened or stuck on an emotional level, or if you have been dealing with heavy family issues, or if you've had added responsibility, or a bit of isolation connected to home or private life. So while there's still hard work that may need to be done, connected to domestic life, whether that's with home, property, land, family, any of those things, and there's still can be obstacles there, or this period of testing that goes on within your inner emotional world as well, or with matters connected to your foundation. So again, property, land, real estate, place of living, family, roots. You can start to see some rewards come now, and potentially even gain support or a higher perspective with the efforts that have already been made here. In another way, you are also receiving an unconscious push towards materializing or becoming experimental and progressive within relationships, with how you approach them, the kind of people that you attract this year, as well as how you project yourself to others. So you may become the conscious observer in a sense this year, and life can be going through a big period of spiritualization, whether that's in personality or identity and things like that. So there can be a powerful release that influences your path in life also. So, and exploring relationships in a totally new way, or attracting totally new people that might even have, an exotic, foreign, or unusual type of personality for you, or something that's very different than you're used to, can bring progression into your life, but may also require you to release certain aspects of yourself and things like that as well. Things as well as things that you can strongly identify with, or things connected to life direction. Also, relationships and visibility within career can become amplified this year in a powerful and even fated type of way. Okay, so for Sagittarius, sun, moon, or rising, for you guys, this year you might be very actively involved with the matters connected to home, family, children, romantic, and private life. This is also a year when you guys can be receiving a lot of benefits, support, or guidance. And on an emotional level, there's a powerful healing that can take place, or you may receive the right advice or guidance that helps to improve your inner emotional world, your foundation in matters connected to roots or anything connected to home, property, land, those types of things. On a physical level, you can have easier access to things like property, place of living, or be seeking in some way to improve these things within your life, whether that's home improvement or something like that. Or you can be finding higher meaning and truths connected to domestic life, home life, and even family can be expanding in some way, shape, or form. Travel that involves family is also possible. So again, those will all depend on your individual chart. But you are being supported this year with creative endeavors and pursuits, as your confidence and self-expression does receive a boost this year. Opportunities and inspiration may come to you easily through romantic partners, through students, through children, as well as your own personal development this year. Benefits or luck may come through things like risk-taking, speculation, taking on center stage roles, and you may also be very focused and involved with developing your hobbies or talents, interests, and potentially putting these things out there to the world. Or you may simply be seeking more fun and enjoyment in your life. So you can even find higher meaning and purpose in those activities, but do be mindful of doing these things in an overly excessive or indulgent manner as well with this energy. And these influences can bring some relief if you've been feeling kind of burdened or stuck within your mind, within your own personal self-talk, or within your communication or personal interactions with others. There can still be some organizing, restructuring, some challenges and delays to overcome when it comes to mental state. That is the third house where Saturn is transiting. So patterns of thinking, or with people in your everyday local environments or close relatives, or when it comes to communication, media, business exchanges, putting a lot of hard effort into these matters, even if there's a breakdown, restriction, or if progress feels slow, can give very good long-lasting results if that work has been done. So it is a good time for creating long-term goals in connection with this area of life, though, or for restructuring your business, rethinking how you exchange ideas, information, services, skills, language, writing, media, speaking projects, with a long-term vision in mind. Definitely support it. You're also receiving this year an unconscious push towards materializing or becoming experimental and progressive within your daily life, work life, within your daily habits, rituals, and routines, or even with lifestyle choices. So sorry about that. I have a puppy. Okay. Sorry about that. So try not to overly obsess about problems or conflicts or difficult situations, or the hardships of life. As if they appear, it is more helpful to focus on the progression you can achieve by going out of your comfort zone with these things and progressing in this area of life. There may also be a powerful release on a subconscious or spiritual level, and even with certain self-undoing behaviors, or you may find that matters of daily life are multiplied or amplified in some way. So it could be important to also make time for escape, reflection, retreat, and relaxation this year. Okay, so for Capricorn, sun, moon, or rising. So for you guys this year, you might be very actively involved with matters connected to money, to investments, to your personal resources, and might also be doing some restructuring to your approach to money, to self-worth, to what you value. There could also be a more serious approach to this area of life. And you might even be doing some downsizing or working very hard or putting a lot of effort into materializing something in this area of life as well. Or thinking of these things in terms of what will be beneficial in the long run. So if these things connected to finances, connected to self-worth, self-esteem, the things you need to survive or support yourself and things like that, if there's been some stagnancy here, if you felt stuck or blocked in this area, you might be asked to practice more self-discipline or commitment, perseverance, mastery with these things, which if worked on really has the potential to give very long lasting rewards and results. But of course you guys are Saturn ruled, so this is right up your alley anyway. But if you are encountering any of those challenges with obstacles with money, with self-love, with your values, or with your intake of things, if that feels limited, you can easily receive support this year through a few different avenues. So your self-talk actually can become more positive, more optimistic this year. And on an emotional level, you can also receive this boost of positive energy that benefits you and supports you. So support and opportunity may also come this year from family, from people in your private life, people in your everyday local environment, or in matters connected to home, property, or through your communication with others. Also, you can be receiving a bit of an unconscious push this year towards becoming more experimental and progressive within your personal self and creative expression. So creativity might become amplified in some way, and you might even have a strong desire to create something that is an extension of you this year, whether that's a creative project, a business, a new romantic relationship, even a child as well. So you might even be working to materialize something that's connected to your talents, hobbies, interests. You can even be doing more risk taking than usual this year, or more focused on fun and enjoyment somehow this year, or on romantic life or relationships with children and things like that. At the same time, there can be a bit of releasing that goes on within friend groups or organizations that you're part of, or even past life connections here are possible. And your focus this year can be a little bit more towards what feels good for you, what you want to create, how you want to express, more than on group or community needs and things like that. So there can be disinterest or release that is also possible with a source of income or some aspect of how money gains or rewards comes in, or with a goal. These things can all be spiritualized as well. Okay, so for Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising, for you guys, some of the major themes going on, and we're taking a look at Jupiter, Saturn, and the transiting nodes for this. So this year, luck and opportunity can find you more easily and naturally when it comes to your finances, your values, and that which supports you. Because this is the second house where Jupiter is transiting, which is all those things we need to survive as well. There's also potential for financial increase this year, or opportunities to make more money. You have access this year to become more enlightened or have a higher level of awareness around what your worth is as well. And this can be positively reflected in how much you're able to receive and acquire from others. Do be mindful of overdoing things in this area, such as an overestimation when it comes to money, or overspending, these types of things when it comes to spending, saving, investing, and earning. And even with how much you intake, because this house is connected to what we put into the body, specifically through the mouth and things like that. But otherwise, this is a very supportive influence when it comes to those things. And you might even find a higher sense of purpose and meaning in these areas. Self-talk, ideas, opinions, methods in which you share or exchange ideas, information, or services also receives a boost this year, which can be a source of financial increase. So working with things like media, business, writing, learning, speaking, projects, definitely supported this year as well. And these influences can definitely bring some relief if you have been, even with Jupiter transiting the third house, your own self-talk, doing things like affirmations and things like that. These things can bring some relief if you have been feeling burdened or stuck on a physical level, if your energy levels have been low, or if it's been a challenging time for you to initiate things or take action. So these new ideas, inspirations, or an upliftment of your own self-talk and communication can help to relieve some of this pressure as well. As you guys have been going through or will be going through a massive shift where things may be removed from your life, or where you're undergoing life circumstances that are a little bit more challenging. You could be faced with harsh realities and things like that that require you to mature and grow, but in a way that can feel slow and somewhat challenging as well. So again, practicing those Saturnian principles, self-discipline, perseverance, and doing any heavy personal development work can also help with that energy. Even if the results come at a slower pace, you know, it is a new beginning, and the changes you make now can have a positive and long-lasting effect. And then at the same time, you're also receiving an unconscious push towards materializing or becoming experimental and progressive with your private life, with your home life, even with your family, because there's this unconscious pull to develop or engage in something here. So this can even mean that career somehow can take the back seat, or there can be some kind of spiritualization or release when it comes to career status, worldly achievements, and things like that, so that you can focus on your foundation. So your emotional world may also become amplified in some way. Important developments connected to home, family life, mom, motherhood, property, relocation are also likely as you are materializing something or having a strong desire connected to this area of life. Now, finally, Pisces, sun, moon, or rising. Okay, so for you guys, major themes and energy of 2022. This year can bring luck and opportunity to you quite naturally and quite easily. Of course, you guys have Jupiter transiting your sign, and even your general outlook on life can improve as you have the potential to align with higher meaning and purpose, or personally progress in this new cycle of growth within your life. So this can be related to your health, your path, your purpose in life, and even with how you initiate things and take action this year. So this is a year for acting on inspirations, on opportunities, on intuitions, or guidance that you may easily receive this year. And you might also be giving yourself permission to grow, to express, to take action in a way that creates abundance for you as well. And then these positive developments and opportunities can also bring material or financially beneficial results to you, or boost or create awareness more around things like self-worth and self-esteem can also happen. So what your values are, how you intake things, spend, save, invest, and earn as these things begin to increase. And you can even be able to more easily ask and receive more in a way that supports you or is positive. So just be aware of overdoing or overindulging, overexpanding yourself with these things or within these areas. And these influences can definitely bring some relief if you've been feeling burdened or stuck on a more subconscious level. So you might be experiencing unconscious spiritual creative blockages that also need to be worked through, or that are undergoing a slow process of healing and things like that, or slow processing of some form of loss or removal or dissolvement or disappointment. Self-undoing behaviors might also be carrying a heavy weight and require a lot of effort or discipline to resolve as well. But overall, it's a really great year for finding the higher meaning and purpose of those circumstances and receiving the right guidance to navigate them. In another way, if you have been working on something or putting much effort into something behind the scenes, or have become more serious and committed in these areas, you can begin to see some results or shifts. Put these out to the world, or also inspire others with that same journey. Okay, and then lastly, you can be receiving an unconscious push towards materializing or becoming experimental, progressive within how you exchange ideas, information, and within both personal and outward communication. So there can be a release of or spiritualization process that can be going on connected to your belief system, your vision for the future, your perspective on life, which can lead you to becoming more experimental and progressive with new ideas, people, skills, business endeavors, or means of communication such as media, writing, speaking, teaching, learning or implementing new approaches to these things that already exist. You may also become more focused on things connected to your local environment, connections, or those lower levels of learning and communicating than, let's say, the more advanced or worldly or philosophical ones. And also spiritual or past life teachers may appear within this year. Okay, so that's everything I have for you guys. I took a bunch of notes on each sign, so I kind of just read through them. Thank you guys all so much for joining me. I hope you have an amazing 2021. If you are interested in reading with me, I would love to hear from you. If not, then I will see you guys on the channel. Happy New Year, happy holidays. Thank you guys so much. Bye.